Chapter 1329. The more he analyzed, the more he found it terrifying. Although each of Xiao Chen's actions seemed simple, there was a deep meaning behind them. That mysterious Grand Tao was far from being as simple as borrowing force to fight force, and it was deep, distant, and unfathomable. Then let's fight even more intensely. A lofty sentiment that had not appeared in his heart for a long time surged out. The drumming suddenly rose another pitch. Dong dong dong. The distant drumbeats merged the lofty aspirations and hot-bloodedness of this sovereign martial emperor. The sound of the war drum reached deep into the soul of everyone in the arena. Xiao Chen was influenced by this war drum. His heart pounded, and in the depths of his soul, he could hear the drum beat. The blood in his body boiled and burned. Suddenly, his fighting spirit charged into the clouds. Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed, and he no longer tried to resist the drumbeat. He allowed the drumbeat to sweep through his body from the depths of his soul. All right, then let's fight. Taiji Saber Domain. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, the Saber Domain and the Taiji force field merged. The Saber intent turned into dragons, one bright and one dark, one yin and one yang. As they chased each other, they formed a vast Taiji diagram. Xiao Chen stepped in the middle. Seeing another wave of attacks coming, he took a step forward. It was as if his body had suddenly disappeared. All of his aura and attacks had been concealed. The three demon race elders who had just arrived lost their target and were momentarily stunned. Break! While they were stunned, Xiao Chen suddenly appeared and slashed with his saber, throwing the three of them into confusion. In this Taiji Saber domain, Xiao Chen's figure was faintly discernible, appearing and disappearing, sometimes in the light and sometimes in the dark. Once the 9 demons were thrown into disorder, they could no longer regroup. Gather together, don't panic. Be careful, Elder Feng. He's going to your side. No, wait, Don't panic, don't panic. We'll retreat one by one. When Xiao Chen drew his saber and broke that killing move, the situation of the battlefield tilted in Xiao Chen's favor. One man and one saber, with white hair and white robes, left the 9 fiend race elders flustered, unable to put up any resistance. The dragon roared incessantly, and the saber intent did not cease. The power of Taiji moved both fast and slow, changing unpredictably. It did not take long for the 9 elders to be riddled with injuries, and each of them wanted to retreat. Can you return it? Xiao Chen muttered to himself. The 2 dragons under his feet merged as he executed the Taiji Yin-Yang chop. Within the Taiji Saber domain, this chop was as fast as lightning, disappearing in an instant. The armors and shields of the 9 demon clan elders shattered at the same time. After spinning around, Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and floated down. Boom! The Taiji Saber domain exploded, dealing the final blow to the 9 fiend race elders. The vast saber intent was like a torrential rain. Space in the surrounding engine room exploded. By the time Xiao Chen landed on the ground, there was no one else standing in the arena besides him. All of them were covered in cuts and bruises, lying on the ground and howling in pain. However, these fiend race elders all had the golden body of Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen had held back when he attacked, so they did not suffer any fatal injuries. Otherwise, his Taiji Yin-Yang chop would not have been as simple as breaking the defenses of these fiend race elders. The sound of the war drums came to a sudden stop. Di Feng had not expected such a result. Di Feng had guessed that the Taiji Dao would not be so simple, just borrowing force to fight force. However, he had not expected that when he truly erupted, it would be so horrifying. The white-clad Xiao Chen calmly walked out of the cloud of dust. Senior Di, have I proven myself? Di Feng was slightly distracted. After a while, he guffawed and said, Let's go. Without saying anything else, Di Feng soared into the sky with Xiao Chen, heading for the highest level of Myriad Fiend Island. The surrounding fiend race cultivators exclaimed. Di Xinhan's expression changed slightly as well. We are going to meet the old ancestor. The myriad fiend old ancestor was in closed-door cultivation all year round, never coming out. Meeting him was like ascending to heaven for regular people. It was simply impossible. Even if Di Shinhan wanted to meet him, it was somewhat impossible. The summit of Myriad Fiend Island was hidden in the thick clouds. To the fiend race, it was like a divine platform. The remaining two Vice Island masters recovered their wits and quickly followed, soaring into the sky. By the time they caught up to Di Feng, they discovered that Xiao Chen was already gone. Only Di Feng stood alone in the clouds, looking at a mountain peak. That was the highest point of Myriad Fiend Island, the place with the densest spiritual energy. At the same time, it also suppressed the Myriad Fiend Island's luck. That mountain peak in the clouds was filled with mystery. At the same time, there was a strong might and pressure that deterred others from approaching. It was like they were afraid of disturbing a deity. "Where is Xiao Chen?" the two Vice Island masters asked. Di Feng pointed to that mysterious mountain peak, not saying anything. The two Vice Island masters appeared dispirited. They sighed and said, "He really went up? The last time I personally met the old ancestor was 1,000 years ago, before he advanced to martial emperor. Are we really going to agree to him and reject the deity race?" Di Feng said indifferently, "The two of you can forget about the benefits that the deity race offered. Joining the deity Dao Union will bring us many benefits. However, it will ruin the future of the entire Myriad Fiend Island. The old ancestor will definitely not agree." The two Vice Island masters blushed slightly, feeling somewhat embarrassed. Indeed, by joining the deity Dao Union, they, the upper echelon, could increase their strength and obtain all sorts of benefit. However, in the long run, the lower echelons of Myriad Fiend Island would be assimilated, unable to leave the deity race. However, why does the old ancestor want to meet him? Big brother, you should be able to make decisions about the Myriad Fiend Island now, right? Indeed. Who is the old ancestor? Even Emperor Forsaken does not dare to underestimate him. Why does the old ancestor want to meet him alone? The two Vice Island masters found this somewhat strange. They could not understand no matter how much they thought about it, feeling very suspicious. Di Feng smiled faintly and said, "You do not understand. Because you are not strong enough, how can the world that the old ancestor sees be the same as the world that we see? My guess is that the old ancestor and that Haotian Prime have similar goals. They both want to find their own fortuitous encounters from this youth." Their own fortuitous encounters? The other two exchanged glances, still feeling confused. The old ancestor still stood at the peak of the Kunlun realm. As a prime, why would he need a fortuitous encounter? After passing through the layers of clouds, Xiao Chen felt that he had broken through layer after layer of barriers, layer after layer, as though there was no end to them. Whoosh! Suddenly, the clouds parted, and the scene before Xiao Chen changed. Then, he landed on a mountain peak and his body drifted down. At the summit of the mountain peak, an old man with white hair, white eyebrows, and a white beard sat cross-legged on a stone pillar. This old man looked very ordinary. However, his eyes were deep and bright, filled with an ancient aura. Who knew how many vicissitudes he had seen? Xiao Chen was startled. This was the famous Myriad Law Fiend Master. To think that this was the true appearance of the famous Myriad Law Fiend Master. Xiao Chen had seen several primes. Emperor Forsaken, the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, the Haotian Prime, and the Fox King. Aside from the overwhelming aura of primes, they all had an aura of transcending the mundane and returning to their natural state. This white-bearded old man before Xiao Chen also had such an aura. Xiao Chen was sure that he was the Myriad Law Fiend Master. "Greetings, Senior Fiend Master," Xiao Chen said with a cupped fist salute. The Myriad Law Fiend Master said calmly, "It looks like you passed Di Feng's test. Tell me, how did you do it?" Xiao Chen was flabbergasted. As a prime, could it be that the Myriad Law Fiend Master did not know what happened earlier? That was definitely not the case. There must be some other important reason, something extraordinary. Who knew? The myriad law fiend master's next words rendered Xiao Qin speechless, at a loss for what to do. You don't have to find it strange. Most of the time, I'm staring at the sky in a daze. I do not have the leisure to look at things. Staring at the sky? A prime staring at the sky in a daze? Xiao Qin did not dare to probe further. He answered honestly, telling the myriad law fiend master how he passed Di Feng's test. After the myriad law fiend master heard that, a strange look flashed in his eyes. 1 against 10? Strange. Little fellow, you clearly only have the strength of a peak third heaven martial Emperor Wu. How did you manage to fight 1 against 10? Xiao Qin was about to explain in detail when the myriad law fiend master gently tapped the air, and a water screen appeared in the air. Figures flickered in the water screen, replaying the scene of Xiao Qin fighting the 10 fiend race elders. The myriad law fiend master nodded repeatedly. Occasionally, he rewound some of the scenes, watching them several times. The steps of the fish dragon art were broken down into countless layers of afterimages. Xiao Qin could see all the trajectories clearly. Xiao Qin felt startled in his heart. However, he did not know how this water screen was made. This is an emperor treasure of the Myriad Fiend Island, the Heavenly Shark Mirror. It was refined from the eyeball of an old Heavenly Shark Fiend. Everything that happens on the Myriad Fiend Island can be seen by this Heavenly Shark Mirror. As the Myriad Law Fiend Master looked at the scene, he spoke at the same time, dispelling Xiao Qin's doubts. Not bad, not bad. Did you comprehend this yourself? Movement and stillness, fast and slow, light and dark. It is like you can merge everything that opposes time, the Myriad Law Fiend Master said as he looked at Xiao Qin after dispelling the water screen. Xiao Qin nodded and said, "This is the Taiji Dao. This junior comprehended it by chance." Taiji. The Myriad Law Fiend Master gently tapped the air, and a Taiji diagram appeared in the air. 2 streams of black and white energy swam around in the diagram. It looked like the great Tao of the world could be derived from it. The Myriad Law Fiend Master shook his head and stared at the Taiji diagram. It is too thin. It feels like it is missing something. However, it is rather interesting. I can play with it for a while. When Xiao Qin heard this, he felt it was strange. Why does it seem like this Myriad Law Fiend Master is extremely bored? He has been here for so long, but he has not discussed any serious matters. Senior, do you agree to help the Haotian sect at a crucial moment? Xiao Qin asked uncertainly, feeling somewhat nervous. The Myriad Law Fiend Master nodded casually. Since Di Feng agreed, I will naturally help. You may leave. Leave? Xiao Qin felt that his thoughts could not keep up. He only took a glance and muttered a few words to himself. Then, the Myriad Law Fiend Master dismissed him. Wait a moment. Your physical body cannot keep up. You should be cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art, right? You only managed to cultivate the second layer. You are far inferior to the Qing Emperor back then. You probably did not collect enough secret treasures containing dragon souls. The Myriad Law Fiend Master seemed to know everything. After thinking for a while, he tossed out a spatial ring to Xiao Qin. Here are some secret treasures refined by the descendants of the older generation fiend dragons after they died. Consider it a greeting gift for you. Right, it is fine now. Chapter 1330. As Xiao Qin held the ring, he was in a daze. He could sense that this Myriad Law Fiend Master was indeed an expert. However, why did this expert feel somewhat unreliable? Great chaos had already started, and a great calamity was approaching. However, this old man did not seem anxious at all. Senior, may I ask if you know the whereabouts of the Thunder King? Xiao Qin vaguely felt that this seemingly unreliable fiend master actually had great means and was extremely incredible. As the Myriad Law Fiend Master stared at the Taiji diagram before the Thunder King, a rare fluctuation appeared on his face. A sorrowful expression appeared on the myriad law fiend master's face as he sighed. Why are you asking this? Even if you know, could it be that you can go and find him? I do not dare to go to that place. Ingzongtian does not dare to go there. Emperor Forsaken does not dare to go there, either. In that case, all the more you cannot go. Why? When Xiao Chen heard this, he was startled. Unexpectedly, this old man really knew the whereabouts of the Thunder King. Because since ancient times, aside from the Qing Emperor from 10,000 years ago, no one has ever returned alive. No one knows whether they are dead or alive, and their whereabouts are unknown. The myriad law fiend master said indifferently, hence, you can stop thinking about this problem. When you are strong enough, you will naturally know where that old fellow, the Thunder King, went. Many thanks, Senior. Xiao Chen thought for a while and gave this old senior a deep look. Then, without saying anything more, he performed a cupped fist salute and left. The myriad law fiend master ignored Xiao Chen. He stared at the Taiji diagram and muttered to himself, Taiji, yin and yang merged into one diagram? How did this little fellow do it? What a headache! Had I known, I would have left this little fellow behind and given me a proper explanation. If Xiao Chen heard this, he would definitely be speechless for a long time. He came out. Seeing Xiao Chen come out, Di Feng and the other two revealed expressions of joy. The two Vice Island masters rushed forward and asked, Blue Dragon King, what did the old ancestor say to you? Tell us. Right. What did the Patriarch say? Xiao Chen found it a little strange. After meeting the Patriarch, these two deputy island masters had been unreasonably enthusiastic. Di Feng smiled helplessly. Second brother, third brother, don't scare our guests. Xiao Chen, please don't be offended. The ancestor's status in our myriad fiend island is even higher than that of a deity. That was not all. The two of them clearly revered the Demon King from the bottom of their hearts. Xiao Chen sorted out his thoughts and roughly explained what happened when he met the Demon King. After saying that, the two Vice Island masters were astonished, and they looked at Xiao Chen with a trace of reverence. Impressive, Blue Dragon King. The Patriarch actually spoke so much to you and even gave you something. Truly amazing. Looks like Big Brother made the right choice. Back then, when the ancestor saw me, he barely said a few words before impatiently sending me away. After Xiao Chen heard this, his heart finally calmed down. It turned out that the Demon King treated everyone like this, not just me. Di Feng smiled and said, It is not too late for the two of you to have such thoughts now. Quickly go and make arrangements with the outside world. Return all the things that the deity race gave us. Yes. Since the Patriarch has spoken, how could we dare to disobey? I will pass on the Patriarch's words. Those elders will not dare to object. The two of them received their orders and left. Before they left, they looked at Xiao Chen enviously. After the two of them left, Di Feng said to Xiao Chen, don't be fooled by the Patriarch's indifferent appearance. In fact, he knows everything. If a person knows everything and has no expectations, how could he show enthusiasm? So, don't mind him. Xiao Chen nodded and said, I don't mind. I am already very satisfied with the Patriarch's promise. The Patriarch gave you secret treasures containing dragon souls. It looks like he values you a lot. You do indeed have an opportunity that caught his eye. Di Feng patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and smiled. Go back and take a look. These secret treasures containing dragon souls should give you a pleasant surprise. After remaining on Myriad Fiend Island for 3 days, Xiao Chen left silently, heading for the next Holy Land. However, a storm was brewing in the heavenly starry ocean. The words Deity Dao Union suddenly rose up, becoming known to everyone. Although the Deity Dao Union had only been established for a short time, all sorts of news about it had already spread throughout the heavenly starry ocean. This was especially so after the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas announced that they would join the Deity Dao Union. This caused the deity Dao Yunyan's prestige to soar. Several ancient noble clans and many of the 9 ranks of the great families were trying to find out information. More or less, they all wanted to join the deity Dao Yunyan. Now that the Kunlun realm was in chaos and a great calamity was approaching, the peak experts were all in danger. The appearance of the deity Dao Yunyan was like a whirlwind blowing in the heavenly starry ocean. The news spread at a horrifying speed, becoming known to everyone. Furthermore, the news that the deity Dao Yunyan would attack the Haotian sect and completely rule the Kunlun continent also spread like wildfire. Immediately, all sorts of rumors about the Haotian sect spread everywhere. Everyone could feel that in this chaotic world, a storm was brewing rapidly. However, just as everyone thought that the deity Dao Yunyan would defeat the Haotian sect, the 2 vice-island masters of the Myriad Fiend Island suddenly revealed that the Myriad Fiend Island would help the Haotian sect at its most crucial moment, lending a hand to the Blue Dragon King. The moment this news spread, it caused a huge commotion. Many people did not expect this. As a peak holy land, the Myriad Fiend Island actually chose to side so early. After the news of Shao Chen fighting against 10 alone and subduing many fiend race elders spread, everyone understood what was going on. So, that was the case. The 2 pieces of news overshadowed the recent news of the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas joining the deity Dao Yunyan. Everyone knew that the Blue Dragon King, Shao Chen, who had been in hiding for 2 years, was going to make a move again. Actually, everyone should have guessed that the Haotian sect and Shao Chen's Dragon's Gate were interdependent. Now that the Haotian sect faced a crisis of life and death, how could the white-robed Shao Chen not make a move? However, no one expected that this white-robed Shao Chen, who had not appeared for 2 years, would subdue the Myriad Fiend Island, an immortal holy land, the moment he appeared. Given the Myriad Fiend Island's strength and accumulations, even if the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas worked together, they would not be half as strong as the Myriad Fiend Island. Furthermore, the Myriad Fiend Island had a prime overseeing it. This was a huge blow to the deity Dao Yunyan, which was at its peak. The moment this news spread, several of the 9 ranks of the great families, who were preparing to make contact with the deity Dao Yunyan, immediately thought of this and decided to wait and see. When the divine daughter, Tianyu Shi, received the news, she was distracted for a long time, not expecting this at all. The moment Shao Chen made a move, he managed to pull the Myriad Fiend Island over to the Haotian sect's side. More accurately, he sided with the Dragon's Gate's Shao Chen. It was because of Shao Chen that the Myriad Fiend Island agreed to help the Haotian sect. Without Shao Chen, it would be hard to say who the Myriad Fiend Island would side with. Feng Wuji and Xiaoju, who traveled with Tianyu Shi, also did not expect such a thing. The joy of the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas siding with the deity Dao Yunyan immediately diminished, and they all frowned. The 2 of you, what do you think? Tianyu Shi asked as she looked at Xiaoju and Feng Wuji. Xiaoju said sullenly, "We need to convince an immortal holy land as soon as possible. Otherwise, if we let this Shao Chen continue to persuade them, our deity Dao Yunyan will be at a complete disadvantage in the entire heavenly starry ocean." I know this. However, the immortal holy lands are not easy to convince. Furthermore, the divine sun is in closed-door cultivation and cannot come out. It will be very difficult for us to compete with Shao Chen just by relying on the benefits that he promised. Tianyu Shi said somewhat dispiritedly. The Myriad Fiend Island sided with the Dragon's Gate and returned all the natural treasures that she sent. This was simply too great a blow to her. This was especially so when she learned that Shao Chen did not offer any conditions, relying only on his elegance to subdue the Myriad Fiend Island. This made her feel even more depressed. I know that those immortal holy lords are all heroes of the world. They value a person's elegance more. However, some factions might not do so, like the Northern Sea Alliance. This stunned Tianyu Shi. Then, she shook her head and said, "Young Master Xia, you are mistaken. Who does not know that the Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief is on good terms with Shao Chun? Shao Chun would probably be able to convince them with just one letter. Xiahou Ju smiled and said, "The Divine Daughter only knows one side and not the other. The Northern Sea Alliance is very complicated. My father is on good terms with one of their vice alliance chief. The Divine Daughter has given me a certain amount of authority. Just leave this matter to me." When Tianyushi heard that, she felt excited. That's right. The Northern Sea Alliance is an alliance formed by many factions. However, it is not very stable. All right, I'll leave this matter to you. Feng Wuji, who had been silent all this while, spoke up at an appropriate time. Right now, we still need to know which Holy Land Shao Chun is going to next. Tianyushi quickly answered. According to the Treasure Master, Shao Chun is already in the Sea region under the Five Poison Sect's jurisdiction. He will enter the Five Poison Sect's headquarters soon. Five Poison Sect? Feng Wuji's expression changed. This Shao Chun is really bold. He even dares to rush over to the Five Poison Sect. I remember that the Five Poison Sect caused trouble for him during the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony. He even has a grudge with the Five Poison Sect's holy son. Is he not afraid of not returning? A vague murderous intent flashed in Tianyushi's bright eyes. After some thought, he said, I already made arrangements for this. As long as he really dares to go to the Five Poison Sect, even if he does not die, he will lose a layer of skin. Feng Wuji and Xiahou Ju exchanged glances. They both felt the murderous intent in Tianyushi's words, which was rare. The Divine Daughter, Tianyushi, seemed intent to kill and intended to directly attack Shao Chun. That's it, then. When the personal disciples of the Dongyue Ghost Emperor and the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God arrive, we will think of a way to make a trip to the Lunar Palace. That is the center of the entire heavenly starry ocean. Tianyushi was not willing to say more about her arrangements for the Five Poison Sect. After that, they ended the conversation. The simple conversation contained a surging undercurrent. The seemingly calm heavenly starry ocean was filled with a chaotic undercurrent. The conflict between the Dragon's Gates, Shao Chun and the deity Dao Union had already started silently, accumulating energy for an even greater storm. A monstrous battle was unavoidable. The victor lived and the loser died. As the deity Dao Union pressed on, Shao Chen's situation was not optimistic at all. Even if he miraculously managed to convince all the holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean, he did not even have a 50% chance of victory against the deity Dao Union. The deity Dao Union in the distant Kunlun continent already held the initiative, gaining momentum. Only by fighting against the heavens and facing the difficulties head-on could one obtain that glimmer of hope. This was also why Shao Chun came to the Five Poison Sect. Chapter 1331. No matter how difficult it was, if Shao Chun came, he would have a 50% chance of convincing the Five Poison Sect. The Five Poison Sect was in the eastern sea of the heavenly starry ocean. 3 immortal holy lands occupied most of the vast eastern sea. Aside from the Five Poison Sect, there was also the Yinyang Paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy. The remaining sea regions were controlled by the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. Aside from them, there was no space for other major factions. They were all scattered small sects that could not amount to much. The Five Poison Sect's headquarters was on Poison Cloud Island. There was only one city on Poison Cloud Island, Poison Cloud City. At this moment, Shao Chun was in an inn in Poison Cloud City. Shao Chun had already sent someone to deliver his letter to the Five Poison Sect 3 days ago. However, the Five Poison Sect had ignored him for 3 days, showing no intention of inviting him to their headquarters. Shao Chun was in no rush. He stayed in the inn and started cultivating the blue dragon body nourishing art. The Myriad Law Fiend Master's gift was indeed a pleasant surprise. Shao Chun had not expected that the ring that the Myriad Law Fiend Master casually tossed over contained an Emperor-grade secret treasure with a dragon soul. Furthermore, this was no ordinary Emperor-grade secret treasure. Although it was still a distance away from a primordial Emperor treasure, it was still a superior-grade Emperor-grade secret treasure. After refining this dragon soul, the blue dragon body nourishing art broke through the second layer in one go, reaching the peak of the third layer. After leaving Myriad Fiend Island, Shao Chun had been digesting the many benefits of this Emperor-grade secret treasure dragon soul. His physical body's defense had improved further, and his strength had increased wildly, reaching a horrifying 100 dragon force. Now, with just his vital qi, he could compete with some minor heavenly Emperor Wu, with a 50-50 chance of victory. After a few major cycles, Shao Chun opened his eyes and spread out his spiritual sense. Everything that happened and said in the inn entered his mind. Did you hear? Blue Dragon King Shao Chun fought against 10 Emperor Wu alone at Myriad Fiend Island and actually won. The deity Dao Yunyan's momentum in the heavenly starry ocean immediately fell. Ha! That was news a few days ago. Who does not know about it now? What are you talking about? Now, there are rumors that say that Blue Dragon King Shao Chun is already in the Eastern Sea. You came to the Eastern Sea region? It can't be that he will come to our 5 Poison sect, right? He has a grudge with our 5 Poison sect, and our holy son has even lost face at his hands. Hard to say. The cultivators in the inn all discussed the topics that everyone in the heavenly starry ocean cared about. Shao Chun withdrew his spiritual sense and shook his head slightly. The headquarters of the 5 Poison sect still did not respond. They did not even send a manservant. Standing up, Shao Chun pushed open the door and prepared to go out for a stroll. Poison Cloud City could be considered a holy city, and it would not be a bad idea to stroll around. Shao Chun's figure flickered a few times, and he walked out of the inn. No one noticed how he did it. Ha! What a coincidence! I was just about to look for you, but you went out yourself. Is this considered a chance encounter? After leaving the inn, Shao Chun raised his head and happened to see a group of people walking over. The one who spoke was the holy son of the 5 Poison sect. The holy son of the 5 Poison sect, Chen Ying, wore red clothes. His handsome face exuded a sinister air, no different from his usual attire. Shao Chun still had a clear memory of Chen Ying. This was especially so for his red clothes, which were exceptionally eye-catching. Shao Chun recalled that the first time he saw Chen Ying was in Despair City, fighting with the Heavenly Province Academy's holy son. Shao Chun felt that it was unlikely that Chen Ying happened to run into Chen Ying when he came out. The other party had probably been waiting for him. As for the reason, Shao Chun could guess it just by looking at the arrogant expression in the other party's eyes. It had to be a grudge from the past. This holy son still remembered it and wanted to take this opportunity to return it to Shao Chun. Shao Chun had already forgotten about this matter long ago. Furthermore, his mental state had long since passed the stage of fighting to save face. Shao Chun smiled to himself, feeling somewhat helpless. There were many people with Chen Ying, but only one caught Shao Chun's attention. That was a black-robed, middle-aged man with the cultivation of a 4th heaven martial emperor, Emperor Wu. This person exuded a baleful aura that was extremely horrifying and deeply hidden. His eyes were filled with an unruly expression. As Chen Ying looked at Shao Chun, he was unconvinced. He gave Shao Chun a sidelong glance, appearing to be mocking him. Shao Chun's expression did not change as he replied calmly, "It is indeed a coincidence. I was just about to leave, and I ran into you." Chen Ying took out an invitation and said indifferently, "My father is hosting a banquet in 3 days to entertain some honored guests. However, if the Blue Dragon King has time, you can come over on the way." Chen Ying placed a heavy emphasis on the word "on the way" as he stared at Shao Chun, wanting to see an expression of anticipation on Shao Chun's face. However, Chen Ying was somewhat disappointed. When Shao Chun looked at the invitation in Chen Ying's hand, he said softly, "If I have time, I will definitely go over. Help me thank your father for his invitation. Chen Ying did not show any anger or dissatisfaction as Chen Ying had imagined. He felt a sense of defeat, like he was talking to a major character when speaking to Xiao Chen. Chen Ying gave off an invisible aura that lowered Chen Ying's status. This won't do. This fellow made me lose face several times already. This time, he delivered himself to me. This is a rare opportunity. I have to regain some of my reputation. Xiao Chen took the corner of the invitation. However, he discovered that Chen Ying did not seem to have any intention of letting go, still holding on tightly. Xiao Chen could not help frowning slightly as he looked at Chen Ying. Confusion flashed in his eyes. When Chen Ying saw Xiao Chen frown, he thought that the other party was angry. He rejoiced in his heart and smiled. Blue Dragon King, I wonder if you have heard of the saying, the river flows east for 30 years, then west for 30 years. I'm sure you have heard of it. As the saying goes, the wheel of fortune changes. This year, it is my turn. Think about how arrogant you were back then, showing off your sharpness and sending this young master flying with one palm strike in Despair City. However, you definitely did not expect that you would have to beg me one day. Just thinking about it is delightful. Chen Ying spoke very loudly on the street. Furthermore, given his identity, everyone in Poison Cloud City knew about him. In mere moments, many people gathered. When they saw the white-robed, white-haired Xiao Chen, they all cast their gazes over. He is the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. Indeed, he is as the rumors say. White-robed, white-haired, and extraordinary aura. The rumors are true. After he left Myriad Fiend Island, he really did come to the Eastern Sea. However, I did not expect him to come to our Five Poison sect. His relationship with our Five Poison sect is not that good. It is not just bad. Our holy son once suffered a great loss at his hands, nearly losing all face. Look, now they are making things difficult for the Blue Dragon King. It's over. If he wants to beg, he has to lower his voice and endure as much as he can. Now that he ran into our holy son, the Blue Dragon King is in for it. Some of the muffled discussions reached Chen Ying's ears, causing the smile on his face to grow wider. Xiao Chen, if you apologize to me today, I will give you this invitation. Let me tell you, this banquet is very important to you. If you do not go, you will lose the entire Eastern Sea's 3 Holy Lands. Chen Ying held the invitation and continued proudly, beg me, and I will give you the invitation. Ah! When Xiao Chen, who was holding the other corner of the invitation, saw this, he could not help but feel bored. As Chen Ying threw his head back and laughed, he did not notice the mockery in Xiao Chen's eyes. He was still laughing non-stop. How could he not laugh? Why could he not be cocky? Xiao Chen thought about it. This was the person before him who defeated all the outstanding talents at the Four Seas Hero Gathering with one move. At the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, he received the attacks of 10-odd greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. Not long ago, he fought 1 against 10, defeating 10 Emperor Wu's Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. He was the white-robed bladesman, conferred king at a young age and rising up. He was like a legendary existence. All the light of the world gathered on him. Everyone in the world paid attention to his every move. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen once humiliated Xiao Chen, beating him up with one move until he lost all face. Due to fate, he, the Blue Dragon King, came to the Five Poison sect to seek reinforcements. For the sake of the Haotian sect, for the sake of his own survival, he would go around looking for reinforcements. Thinking of this, Chen Ying could not help feeling cocky. However, suddenly, Chen Ying discovered that many of the cultivators in the air, who rushed over after hearing the news, were looking at him strangely, like they were looking at an idiot. What's going on? Chen Ying was startled. When he looked down, he discovered that the invitation that he had been clutching tightly had disappeared. When he looked up, he was dumbfounded. Xiao Chen had already finished reading the invitation. Then, he closed it and said, So, it is the people of the Inyang Paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy. No wonder you are so confident. Chen Ying stared blankly in disbelief. He had clearly been clutching it tightly. How did the other party snatch it away? Furthermore, he did not feel anything at all. Even if Xiao Chen was stronger than him and he could not defeat Xiao Chen, he could still blast the invitation to bits in an instant. If Xiao Chen could not obtain the invitation, he would still be able to see the other party's disappointed expression. However, the script was different from what Chen Ying had imagined. Xiao Chen snatched the invitation away silently. Among the people accompanying Xiao Chen, only the black-clad man from the Fourth Heaven Emperor Wu could tell that Xiao Chen had used a brilliant technique to snatch the invitation away. Xiao Chen, how bold of you! How dare you snatch this young master's invitation? When Chen Ying thought of how embarrassing he looked earlier, he flew into a rage. He could no longer pretend to be refined. Xiao Chen did not get angry. Instead, Chen Ying got angry first. Is that so? Then I'll return it to you. However, do you dare to accept it? Xiao Chen said indifferently and expressionlessly. Then, he gently tossed the invitation forward. Boom! A strong aura spread out. Xiao Chen's white robes flapped loudly, and his white hair fluttered without any wind. That invitation contained a boundless saber intent as it whizzed towards Chen Ying. Whoosh! The invitation had just spun around when a sharp light shot out from it. Caught off guard, a bloody wound immediately appeared on Chen Ying's face, inflicting incredible pain. The ordinary invitation card had instantly turned into a lethal weapon. This startled Chen Ying into retreating frantically, not daring to receive it at all. A figure appeared. The black-clad man moved forward and shielded Chen Ying. Then, he stretched out his hand and caught the invitation. Buzz! The invitation trembled endlessly in the black-clad man's hand, buzzing endlessly. Strands of saber intent surged out, making all the cultivators on the street feel a sharp and inviolable sharpness. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they all looked at Xiao Chen at the same time. Is this the Blue Dragon King? Unparalleled sharpness, unbridled, arrogant, and iron-like. Xiao Chen, are you trying to kill this holy sun? Chen Ying held the wound on his face as he angrily pushed away the black-clad man. Then, he said to Xiao Chen hatefully, You can scram now. When the Haotian sect suffers a calamity, my 5-poison sect will definitely hit you while you are down. As for you, when you walk the Emperor's road, this young master will definitely make you regret it for life. Chapter 1332. Upon hearing this, everyone shook their heads, feeling pity for Xiao Chen. The Blue Dragon King was proud and unyielding, but he was about to lose the 5-poison sect, a great helper. In the end, he was still too rash. Sometimes, no matter how proud or principled one was, one still had to face reality. If one had to lower one's head and apologize, one had to apologize. Even if others were unreasonable, one had to take a step back. Otherwise, the gains would not make up for the losses. How could one be like Xiao Chen, sticking to his principles, not lowering his head or bending his back? Xiao Chen said indifferently, I advise you to take back what you said. Otherwise, even your father will not be able to protect you. Take a closer look at the inscription on the invitation and see whose name it is. Chen Ying was stunned. He asked in confusion, Is it not my father's name? Chen Ying snatched the invitation from the black-clad man's hand and opened it to take a closer look. However, after a while, his expression changed drastically. His eyes filled with incredulity. When the black-clad man saw Chen Ying's expression change, he turned his head curiously. When he saw the signature, his expression changed as well. Chen Ying showed a sullen expression. Before everyone's strange gazes, he walked over to Xiao Chen and handed the invitation back. Then, he lowered his head and said, My apologies. This young master was rude earlier. I hope the Blue Dragon King will come 3 days from now. I hope the Blue Dragon King will forgive me for my offense. Xiao Chen received the invitation and said indifferently, "Don't worry. I will definitely come 3 days from now. You can leave now." How hateful! Chen Ying gritted his teeth in anger. However, he could not do anything about it. There was no reason other than that the person who signed the invitation was someone that even his father could dismiss at any time. Such a scene shocked everyone. No one knew what was going on. No one knew why Chen Ying, who had been shouting incessantly earlier, suddenly became so pitiful, lowering his head and apologizing to Xiao Chen. Interesting. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, I look forward to your arrival 3 days from now. I, Gong Taihua, have heard of you for a long time. After Chen Ying turned and left, the man in black next to him walked up to Xiao Chen and said provocatively. The small farce slowly dissipated. Xiao Chen put away the invitation and watched Chen Ying leave. A faint smile appeared on his face. Indeed, he had come to ask for help. However, he was also giving the 5 poison sect a chance. Chen Ying didn't understand the situation, so he deserved to be humiliated like this. With such a commotion, Xiao Chen also gave up on the idea of continuing to stroll around. He turned around and returned to the inn. In the distance, in a pavilion, there were 2 people who had seen everything that had just happened. One of them was wearing the blue robes of the 5 poisons sect. He looked old and his forehead was covered in wrinkles. His eyes were filled with lethargy. However, his aura was as heavy as a mountain, like a great river, vast and mighty. If Xiao Chen were here, he would be able to tell that this old man in blue was a level 5 greater celestial Emperor Wu. It was just that his lifespan was nearing its end and he didn't seem to have much life force left. The special pattern of the 5 poison sect was embroidered on his chest. It was the proof that he was a grand elder of the 5 poison sect. Beside him stood a Protoss dressed in golden clothes. He had a head of white hair, and his eyes were bright and full of temptation. This person was no stranger to Xiao Chen. Back then, when Elder Qin underwent his tribulation, it was this person who fought with Lan Chaofeng. This was a 7th heaven sovereign martial emperor with incredible strength. Even the Western Sea Dragon King Ao Lang was not a match for him. Lord Qin Xiu, is he the Blue Dragon King? The white-haired Protoss nodded. That's right. He's your target. Remember, you only have one chance. Furthermore, you must do it within Poison Cloud City. If Xiao Chen leaves Poison Cloud City, you'll fail the mission. What about what you promised me? Qin Xiu said indifferently. The deity statues forged by my deity race are divided into 9 grades, from high to low. For outsiders, they would usually cast a 9th grade god statue, which would not absorb a lot of faith power. If you are willing to accept this mission, I can forge a rank 7 deity statue for you. Then, joy flashed in the blue-clad old man's eyes. However, he still felt uncertain. Qin Xiu said coldly, "Are you doubting the strength of the deity race?" Although the strength of the deity race cannot compare to that of Emperor Wu at his normal cultivation, the increase in lifespan is genuine. If you are not willing, then so be it. I'll see what method the 5 poison sect has to extend your lifespan. When the blue-clad old man heard that, his expression turned anxious. He said, "My lord, please calm down. It is not that this old man does not believe it. However, I have to verify it first." That's good. Remember, you can make your move at any time. However, you have to do it within Poison Cloud City. It would be best if you can kill him. However, even if you cannot, you have to severely injure him and let him recuperate for at least half a year. Otherwise, you will fail the mission. After saying that, a light flashed, and Qin Xiu left this place. The blue-clad old man looked at the inn where Xiao Chen was, and dense killing intent flashed in his eyes. Blue Dragon King, sorry for the offense. If not for this old man's lifespan reaching its end, I would not kill a junior like you. Whoosh! The blue-clad old man pushed off the ground and silently arrived outside the inn. However, just as he was about to enter, he suddenly pulled back. Then, he turned around and quickly retreated. On a roof, the blue-clad old man frowned slightly. This Blue Dragon King is very cautious. His perception covers the entire inn at all times. With my strength, once I enter, he will immediately discover me and raise his guard. The blue-clad old man was not afraid of Xiao Chen discovering him. Even if Xiao Chen discovered him, he was confident of killing the other party. This was the confidence of the Fifth Heaven Emperor Wu. What the blue-clad old man feared was that Xiao Chen would raise his guard and leave Poison Cloud City early. If that happened, all his efforts would be wasted. Wait. The instant you walk out of the inn, I will make a sudden move and kill you in one strike. Killing intent flashed in the blue-clad old man's eyes. He sat cross-legged on the roof and looked deeply at the inn's door before closing his eyes. One day passed peacefully. The blue-clad old man opened his eyes once before closing them again helplessly. 2 days passed, and Xiao Chen still did not come out. The blue-clad old man opened his eyes 3 times. On the 3rd day, the blue-clad old man did not close his eyes again, staring at the inn's door. People came and went, but the white-clad old man did not see a certain figure in white. This fellow is really patient. He actually did not intend to come out for a walk after arriving in Poison Cloud City, the blue-clad old man said somewhat resentfully. There was still half a day left. If Xiao Chen did not come out by then, he would have to attend the banquet. That was the situation the blue-clad old man did not want to see. The banquet was held at the headquarters of the 5 Poison sect. The place was heavily guarded, and the experts of the 3 Holy Lands were present. Even if the blue-clad old man succeeded in assassinating Xiao Chen, he would not be able to escape unscathed. If the blue-clad old man really went to the banquet, he would have to kill Xiao Chen, preventing the 5 Poison sect from forming an alliance with the Blue Dragon King. Only then would he have a chance to escape. Hey! The blue-clad old man's eyes lit up, and he suddenly stood up. Xiao Chen walked out of the inn's door. However, before the joy on the blue-clad old man's face faded, a warship descended from the sky. That was the warship of the 5 Poison sect's sect master. Chen Ying's father had sent someone to fetch Xiao Chen. The blue-clad old man heaved a long sigh and said, "No matter what, I have to take this risk. I only have 10 years to live. I need the help of the deity race." A patch of rainbow-colored clouds covered the entire island in the sky above Poison Cloud City. The colors were bright, moving, and unchanging. The clouds looked very tempting. However, Xiao Chen, who was on the warship, knew that this was a poison cloud that even an ordinary Emperor Wu would not be willing to touch. "Blue Dragon King, is this your first time coming to Poison Cloud City?" A pretty girl dressed in green beside the blue-clad old man asked. Xiao Chen glanced at the girl who came to fetch him and nodded gently. "How do you feel? This poison cloud can be considered the foundation of the 5 Poison sect. It has been passed down for more than 10,000 years before it reached its current scale." Xiao Chen answered honestly, "It is rather shocking. It is an eye-opener." "Is that so? In that case, I will be even more shocked." As the two chatted casually, the warship released an ancient ring of light and broke through the poison cloud. Then, the scene before them suddenly changed. Xiao Chen looked up and saw countless pavilions, mountains, rivers, tall buildings, flowers, and trees on top of this vast poison cloud. This was simply incredible. The headquarters of the 5 Poison sect was actually built on this poison cloud. Xiao Chen could even see many 5 Poison sect disciples breathing in the poison cloud and circulating their minor heavenly cycles to cultivate. The poison cloud that ordinary people did not even want to touch was a treasure in the eyes of the 5 Poison sect disciples, a treasure that they could not do without. "Blue Dragon King, this way, please. The church master and a few honored guests have been waiting in the soft cloud pavilion for a long time already." Xiao Chen followed her into the air, flying through the many palaces and pavilions. After 15 minutes, the girl stopped on a crystal staircase floating in the air. Xiao Chen stopped as well and followed her up. Guards stood on both sides of the staircase every 100 meters. The security was extremely tight. At the end of the floating staircase was a pair of azure doors. Not just anyone could enter these doors. The maidservant gently pushed the door open and gestured for Xiao Chen to enter. He did not hesitate to enter with large strides. Inside the doors, the banquet had already been set up. Xiao Chen saw a dignified middle-aged man seated in the host's seat. This was Chen Ying's father, Chen Feng, the current church master of the Five Poison sect, an eighth heaven sovereign martial emperor. He had been in a high position for a long time, so he had a powerful aura around him that made others unknowingly feel intimidated. On the second seat, Lin Yun saw two familiar faces. One was the saint of the Heavenly Province Academy, and the other was the Enyang Utopia Saintess, In Susu. Behind the two stood a strong greater heavenly martial emperor with a grave aura. Seeing Xiao Chen's arrival, In Susu's eyes flickered with boundless flirtatiousness. She was so beautiful that she was like a temptress that could steal one's soul. When the saint of the Heavenly Province Academy saw Xiao Chen's unsightly expression, the memory of him defeating Xiao Chen in a single move during the Four Seas Hero Gathering was still fresh in his mind. Chen Ying was also present. When he saw Xiao Chen, his face was even more unsightly than the saint of the Heavenly Province Academy. The greater heavenly martial emperors in the back, as well as Chen Feng in the host's seat, were all sizing up Xiao Chen at the same time. "Little brother Xiao Chen, have a seat." Chen Feng inwardly nodded his head and gestured for Xiao Chen to take a seat. In Susu and the two people behind the Heavenly Province Academy exchanged a glance, and they started to talk through voice transmissions. Chapter 1333. This Blue Dragon King is really bold. To think that he dares to attend the banquet alone. Ha! If he were not bold, he would not have achieved what he has today. Old Hong, what do you think of him? There's no rush. This is the Five Poison Sect's territory. We are not in a rush. Right. Before everyone's eyes, Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and sat down on his seat. A pretty maidservant immediately walked over and poured wine for Xiao Chen and placed spirit fruits on the table. A magnificent song and dance performance took place in the hall. Chen Feng looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Little brother Xiao Chen, there are very few people in the younger generation that I admire. Since you dare to attend the banquet alone, I offer you 3 toasts." After saying that, Chen Feng downed 3 cups in a row, appearing very heroic. Xiao Chen smiled gently and said some polite words before returning the toast. When the wine cup landed, Xiao Chen felt an extremely sharp gaze on him, so he turned his head to look. It was Gong Taihua, the rather unruly 4th Heaven Emperor Wu, who stood behind him. When Gong Taihua saw Xiao Chen looking over, he smiled and continued to look at Xiao Chen in a flirtatious manner. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with him. He picked up his wine cup and directly ignored Gong Taihua. "Little friend Xiao Chen, I already know why you are here. However, I have to speak the truth. It is not appropriate for our Five Poison sect to support the Dragon's Gate and resist the deity Dao Union. My apologies." Chen Feng did not give Xiao Chen a chance to speak, directly rejecting Xiao Chen in a somewhat abrupt manner. The Heavenly Province Academies and the Enyang Paradise's greater Heavenly Emperor Wu exchanged glances, feeling extremely surprised. Unexpectedly, Chen Feng rejected them so decisively. Xiao Chen did not say anything. He just picked up his wine cup and silently took a sip. "However, don't worry. The Five Poison sect will not stand on the side of the deity Dao Union and deal with the Dragon's Gate and the Haotian sect," Chen Feng added, expressing his stance and choosing to remain neutral. Putting down the wine cup, Xiao Chen nodded and said, "I know. When I saw this poison cloud, I knew the Five Poison sect's decision. This poison cloud has been accumulating for 10,000 years, so I'm afraid that it has gained sentience. It's enough for the Five Poison sect to stay out of it, watch from the sidelines, and even rise up in the chaos." Chen Feng's expression changed. Evidently, he had not expected that Xiao Chen would be able to see through the 5 poison sect's trump card with a single glance. The poison cloud has a spirit? Sect Master Chen, your honorable sect really hit it well. The 2 greater heavenly sovereigns from the Heavenly Province Academy and Yin Yang Utopia were shocked. Chen Feng looked straight at Xiao Chen. How did you know? This was a great secret of the 5 poison sect. Very few people knew about it. The poisonous cloud in the sky had indeed developed a spirit and possessed life. However, when the poisonous cloud was awakened, it could erupt with the strength of a prime, extremely horrifying. Xiao Chen said indifferently, after 2 years in the lower realm, I comprehended a Taiji Dao and am extremely sensitive to the existence of living beings. At first, I only had some suspicions. However, after seeing Sect Master's expression, I am now certain. Chen Feng's face sank. This fellow actually dug a trap for him. However, he quickly recovered and laughed loudly. Good eyes, good eyes. Sect Master, I feel that this song and dance performance is too bland. Since the Blue Dragon King is here, how about I fight with the Blue Dragon King to liven things up for everyone? The Blue Dragon King fighting against 10 alone is something that I have long heard about. I have long wanted to see it for myself. Just at this moment, Gong Taihua, who was behind Shen Ying, suddenly stepped forward and said in an extremely provocative manner, a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Everyone else was somewhat shocked. Chen Ying was a 4th Heaven Emperor Wu, having already crossed the threshold of a lesser Heavenly Emperor Wu. He was fundamentally different from a 3rd Heaven Emperor Wu. Challenging Xiao Chen was a little too shameless. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. What's wrong with this person? The first time he saw me, he had an unconvinced look on his face. Not only did he fall at the banquet, he even directly challenged me, making me feel disgusted for no reason. Chen Feng looked at Xiao Chen and said, Little friend, what do you think? Xiao Chen felt disgusted and did not want to fight with this person. He coldly rejected, I fought against 10 alone because I relied on a martial Dao. I do not dare to fight with a 4th Heaven Emperor Wu like Senior Gong. Ha! Gong Taihua curled his lips and mocked. Looks like some people are only SOSO. The rumors are just SOSO. You still want to convince the 5 poison sect? I'm afraid you can't even pass your own great trial of wind and fire. He looked at Xiao Chen and said arrogantly, If you want to fight, I can only use half of my strength. If I use more than half, I lose. These words made Chen Feng, who was on the main seat, frown. This was a little too much. He waved his hand and said, Elder Gong, since the Blue Dragon King is not willing, you can leave first. Unexpectedly, Chen Feng did not leave. Sect leader, I'm afraid you don't know. 3 days ago on the street, this Blue Dragon King humiliated the saint. This Azure Dragon King ruthlessly humiliated the Holy Sun. At that time, he was very arrogant. Unexpectedly, he is now a coward. Gong Taihua, everyone knows that you are blinded by greed and want to use the Blue Dragon King to increase your reputation. If you are really capable, then suppress your strength to the same level as the Azure Dragon King. Otherwise, don't come up with any nonsensical excuses. The Saintess of the Yin-Yang Wonderland could not stand it anymore. She frowned and said in disgust, Humph, I can't be bothered to talk to a silly girl like you. Let me ask you one more time. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, do you dare to fight me? Gong Taihua took a step forward and said aggressively. His words were filled with boundless arrogance. Everyone in the banquet was stunned by the sudden turn of events. This Gong Taihua had made up his mind to ruthlessly humiliate Xiao Chen today. He would not stop until he achieved his goal. Chen Ying, the saint of the 5 poison sect, drank a mouthful of wine with a cold expression. He looked at Xiao Chen and revealed a cold smile. That's right. This Chen Feng was so arrogant. Other than wanting to step on Xiao Chen and increase his reputation, it was also because of Chen Ying's instigation behind the scenes. The scene 3 days ago had humiliated Chen Ying. Now that he knew his father's intention, he had to step on Shao Chen. How could the greater celestial Emperor Wu lose against the Blue Dragon King? There's no need for that. You can say whatever you want. You! Chen Feng clenched his teeth in anger. Even at this point, Shao Chen was still indifferent. Chen Feng, who was eager to fight, wanted to rush up and make a move. No matter how Chen Feng tried to provoke him, Shao Chen ignored him. Looking at the anger on Chen Feng's face, Chen Feng did not lose interest. Wasn't this the kind of person a clown was used to describe? At the same time, on the floating walkway of Qingyun Restaurant, the old man in blue walked over step by step. With every step he took, the suppressed aura in his body grew stronger. "Greetings, Elder Ma." The guards on both sides bowed when they saw him. Evidently, he had a high position in the 5 poison sect. He did not respond and continued walking. When he reached the end of the walkway, the aura of a 5th Heaven Emperor was as fierce as a volcano. "Open the door," he said in a low voice. The doormen on both sides opened the door without hesitation. "Elder Ma, why are you here? Men, bring a table and a chair over." On the main seat, Chen Feng was slightly surprised. However, he did not notice the change in Elder Ma's expression. He turned his head and instructed the maidservant beside him. While Zhang Xian was distracted, Elder Ma's aura burst forth from his body. With a deafening bang, a gust of qi swept out, blowing Yin Susu and the others back. The old man in blue drew his sword and turned it into a black venomous dragon that pierced toward Chen Feng. He was less than 100 meters away from Shao Chen. Suddenly, he unleashed his peak strike. No one had expected such a sudden change in the situation. Chen Feng's mouth was wide open. He did not expect this at all. He wanted to stop it, but it was too late. In an instant, he seemed to see Shao Chen being torn into pieces by this sword. He was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He had never thought of killing Shao Chen. The Thunder King was missing, not dead. If the Thunder King took revenge, Chen Feng would lose all 9 of his lives here. Within 100 meters, there was no way for Shao Chen to dodge the peak attack of a 5th Heaven Martial Emperor that had been storing up power for a long time. Everyone cried out in their hearts. This was a sure-death situation. The moment the blue-robed old man entered, he attacked immediately. He did not waste any words or show any signs. His target was Shao Chen. The instant the other party made his move, Shao Chen's heart sank. An aura of death spread in his heart. All the hair on Shao Chen's body stood on end, and his body suddenly turned cold. This was a premonition of danger that he had not felt in a very long time. Shao Chen did not even have time to think. If he wasted even a fraction of a second, he would die under the peak attack of this 5th Heaven Emperor Wu. Explode. With his life hanging by a thread, Shao Chen ferociously slammed his palm on the table. 3 spots of saber energy, as dazzling as the sun, erupted in his sea of consciousness. Since Shao Chen comprehended saber energy, this was his first time activating 3 strands of saber energy at the same time. In that instant, Shao Chen gave off a dazzling golden light, even more dazzling than the sun during the day. This was because that blazing sun was several tens of thousands of kilometers away and could be seen with the naked eye. However, as Shao Chen was too close, the light on his body could not be seen with the naked eye. Pu Ci. With a pop, apart from Chen Feng, the eyes of everyone present started bleeding from the piercing pain. It was incredibly painful, temporarily blinding them. Closely following that, an overwhelming saber-intense soared into the sky from Shao Chen's body. It instantly pierced through the roof of the soft cloud pavilion, which was covered in formations. All the disciples of the 5 poison sects' headquarters above the poison cloud could see a saber light as bright as the blazing sun soaring into the clouds. Before this saber light, all the light in the surroundings dimmed. Suddenly, the world turned dark. As for the inside of the pavilion, needless to say, it was plunged into boundless darkness. The saber intent that suddenly erupted from Xiao Chen's body finally managed to suppress the blue-robed old man's aura. The shock waves that erupted from the two clashed and exploded ferociously. The shock waves affected the entire soft cloud pavilion, causing it to shake violently. Although all this happened very slowly, it was only 1,000th of a breath of time. There was no time for anyone to think. The blue-robed old man's aura was slightly hindered. However, the peak attack that he executed after storing up power still advanced forward. Xiao Chen did not pause at all. He activated the 3 strands of saber energy. Just as the other party's sword was about to pierce his chest, he quickly moved back. Chapter 1334. Fish Dragon Art. Like a fish in water, thousands of changes. Xiao Chen moved back step by step. His body was like a fish in water, swaying back and forth. He left behind many afterimages layered over each other, looking hazy and blurry. Amid the thousands of afterimages, Xiao Chen's true body seemed to be hidden in a water screen, looking very blurry. However, the blue-robed old man had locked onto Xiao Chen's aura from the very start. No matter how Xiao Chen changed, the 3-meter-long sword kept pressing forward, not giving Xiao Chen a chance to move. After taking 10 steps back, Xiao Chen could no longer retreat. The blue-robed old man shouted, "Die! Don't even think about it!" Xiao Chen roared in response. At this critical moment of life and death, he brought out all his potential. Fish Dragon Art. Blue Dragon goes to sea, shaking the heavens in one rage. Xiao Chen's aura suddenly changed. The spirit fish turned into a dragon as he drew his saber in anger. When the lunar shadow saber was drawn, the thousands of afterimages merged. Light and shadow changed in the darkness. Thousands of dazzling beams of light shot out from Xiao Chen's body, condensing into a heavy and sharp saber intent. The dazzling beams of light from the saber intent pierced the rather vast space, riddling it with holes. Dang! The moment Xiao Chen drew his saber, he managed to block that horrifying sword strike. A thunderous sound resounded throughout the entire 5-poison sect. Countless houses, buildings, pavilions, and small courtyards were shaken to pieces. Xiao Chen took 3 steps back. With each step, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. By the time Xiao Chen finished taking 3 steps back, his complexion was already frighteningly pale. Cracks appeared in his hands, which he used to block his saber. The pain was numb. Based on Xiao Chen's condition, it was clear that he was severely injured. However, he managed to block this sure-kill sword strike. As long as Xiao Chen blocked it, he created a chance for himself to survive. Everyone present was greatly startled. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen managed to block the peak sword strike of the 5th Heaven Emperor Wu, a sure-kill move. On the host's seat, Chen Feng showed an extremely sullen expression. He shouted coldly and threw a palm strike at the blue-robed old man. This palm strike contained Chen Feng's full power, not showing any mercy. The dense killing intent made the air as viscous as ink. If the blue-robed old man dared to block it, he would definitely die. Only by retreating would he have a chance at survival. For him to be so heavy-handed and merciless, one could imagine how angry Chen Feng was. This kind of person who placed him in a disadvantageous position was equivalent to betrayal and had to be killed. When Xiao Chen saw Chen Feng making a move, he heaved a sigh of relief. If Chen Feng had not made a move with his current condition, he would not have been able to block this attack. "Do you think you are safe now? Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, you will die today." A jade slip appeared in the blue-robed old man's hand, and he crushed it. The blue-robed old man and Xiao Chen vanished simultaneously. It was like they had left this world. Bang! With the sudden disappearance of the two of them, Chen Feng's furious attack naturally missed its target and landed on the ground. The entire building collapsed with a loud bang, turning into countless fragments that fluttered about in the air. The soft cloud pavilion was equipped with formations. Fighting Emperor Wu would not be a problem. However, after receiving Xiao Chen's overwhelming saber aura, the blue-robed old man's peak attack, and Chen Feng's furious attack, it was within expectations that they could not withstand it. When Chen Feng and the others arrived at where Xiao Chen and the blue-robed old man disappeared, they were all at a loss. After losing their sight temporarily, Yin Susu and the others recovered their vision. They were all astonished, their brains short-circuiting. What's going on? Why did Xiao Chen and that blue-robed old man suddenly disappear? Yin Susu asked, feeling extremely confused. Chen Feng clenched his teeth and said, "It's the dimensional talisman, a dimensional talisman unique to the deity race. It can create a separate dimension, independent of the Kunlun realm. Unless a prime makes a move, no one will be able to affect the two of them in that small dimension." The expression of the red-clothed lady behind Yin Susu changed. "Doesn't that mean that the Blue Dragon King is dead for sure? It's over. We are all going to be implicated this time." The scholarly old man from the Heavenly Province Academy had an unsightly expression as well. He said coldly, "Sect Master Chen is truly unfathomable. First, he hid the poison spirit from us, and now, he still has this trick up his sleeve. How brilliant!" Chen Feng's expression was extremely gloomy, but he did not say anything. At this moment, the only one that was happy was probably Gong Taihua, who had been mocking Chen Feng earlier. That was a close call. He even managed to withstand the peak attack of the Fifth Heaven Emperor Wu. If he had accepted my challenge, I would have made a fool of myself in front of everyone and lost all my face. Fortunately, this fellow is dead for sure today. How can he survive being in the same dimension as a Fifth Heaven Emperor? In the small dimension, the blue-robed old man's tense heart relaxed instead. He had been extremely nervous during the assassination outside, fearing that Chen Feng would see through his disguise. Now that the blue-robed old man was in this small dimension, he could do whatever he wanted. He was just a brat who had not advanced to martial emperor. There was no need to disturb him. "Blue Dragon King, sorry for the offense. This old man's lifespan is almost up, and I need your head. I will exchange it for another 500 years of my lifespan. Sorry for the offense." The blue-robed old man had a relaxed expression as he smiled faintly. While the blue-robed old man was relaxed, Xiao Chen was even more relaxed. In the soft cloud pavilion, he had been restrained, worried about exposing his trump cards. In this mysterious space, he could go all out. With so many trump cards, it would be strange if he could not toy with the other party to death. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "It might not go as you wish. Not only will you not live for 500 years, but you will also have to hand over your life here today." When the blue-robed old man heard that, he laughed loudly. "Blue Dragon King, unless you have a primordial emperor treasure that can break through this dimension, even a deity will not be able to save you. Is that so?" Xiao Chen smiled coldly and ferociously through a palm strike. All the heavenly snow divine flame in the Buddhist lamp in the world in his palm surged out. Heavy snow flew, and the divine flame covered the sky. In an instant, the space in front turned into a land of ice. Before the blue-robed old man could react, the heavenly snow divine flame trapped him, burning him with ice and fire. Crack, crack, cracks appeared in the space that the ice and fire froze. 3 seconds later, the blue-robed old man soared into the sky in a sorry state. After breaking free, he laughed loudly. "Just an insignificant divine flame, and you want to burn me to death? A junior like you doesn't understand the might of a greater heavenly martial emperor." However, after the blue-robed old man finished laughing, he suddenly discovered that something was wrong. Xiao Chen had disappeared. Instead, 2 pillars as thick as mountains appeared in front of the blue-robed old man. There was also a powerful aura that rumbled down like a godly mountain descending from the sky. When the blue-robed old man looked up, he revealed an extremely horrified expression, completely stupefied. He swore that he had never seen such a scene in his life. A huge hand suddenly descended, smashing the blue-robed old man, who had just broken free, into a pool of blood. The might of Dermic world vanished, and Xiao Chen's figure shrank, returning to his original form. With ample time to execute his major magic skill, Xiao Chen did not suffer any severe repercussions. His expression remained the same, just somewhat unsightly. Boom! After the blue-robed old man died, the dimension shattered. The white-robed, white-haired Xiao Chen with a treasured saber at his waist suddenly appeared. When the few powerhouses, who were worried about how to deal with the aftermath of Xiao Chen's death, saw this familiar figure, they were so startled that their eyeballs nearly fell out. Naturally, the one with the most interesting expression was Gong Taihua. The dimension shattered and Xiao Chen walked out alive. In that case, there was only one possibility. The blue-robed old man was dead. Everyone's minds buzzed. A fifth heaven martial emperor died, and the one who walked out alive was actually Xiao Chen. This was too inconceivable. Chen Feng walked over with a smile and said, "Little friend Xiao Chen, is it really you?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Yes, it is me." "Today's matter," Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I know. There is no need for Sect Master to explain. If Sect Master wanted to kill me, you had 1,000 ways to do it silently. How could you be so clumsy, sending an elder to kill me in the headquarters?" Chen Feng heaved a sigh of relief. The Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, was indeed as generous as the rumors said. Yin Susu's smile was like a flower. Her clear eyes sparkled as she looked at Xiao Chen. She curled her lips and said, "Young Master Xiao is truly incredible. You even killed a fifth heaven martial emperor. I recall that a certain fourth heaven martial emperor was very boastful, saying that he could defeat the Blue Dragon King with only half his strength." Yin Susu's laughter was like a mountain spring, extremely ear-piercing in Gong Taihua's ears. Gong Taihua lowered his head in shame, unable to refute her words. How could he refute? Did he have to prove that he was stronger than a fifth heaven martial emperor? Clearly, that was impossible. Not only was he weaker than the blue-robed old man, but he was also much weaker. However, now that Xiao Chen had even killed the blue-robed old man, it was like a heavy slap to his face. "Weren't you always arrogant and despotic, saying that the other party was a coward and was only SOSO? Now, Xiao Chen had directly killed a fifth heaven martial emperor. What could be more convincing than this to slap his face with reality? But now, he was just a small character. Just like what Xiao Chen said earlier, he was just a clown. Xiao Chen did not reply to Yin Susu. The others only looked at him with disdain and ignored him. Xiao Chen cupped his hands and said, "Sect Master, thank you for your hospitality. I'm afraid I have to take my leave first." Instantly, Chen Feng felt disappointed and frustrated, as if something was stuck in his throat. "Young Master Xiao, after leaving the Five Poison Sect, how about you come to our Yin-Yang paradise? We sisters have long wanted to see the true face of the Blue Dragon King." Yin Susu stepped forward and approached Xiao Chen, doing her best to invite him. The Heavenly Province Holy Sun received the voice projection from the elder behind him. He stepped forward as well and invited, "Blue Dragon King, how about you come to my Heavenly Province Academy? My Heavenly Province Academy has many historical sites, even remnants from the Immortal epoch. The Blue Dragon King will definitely be interested." Seeing that Xiao Chen could even kill a fifth heaven martial emperor, the attitudes of the Yin-Yang paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy changed drastically. On the other hand, Chen Feng, who had wanted to remain neutral earlier, felt regret in his heart when he saw the situation. However, he could not bring himself to do so, feeling regret. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Both sides were inviting him at the same time, putting him in a difficult position. He did not know where to go. However, this vexation was a happy one. If Tian Yushi knew that not only did the assassination he arranged not work, but it even helped Xiao Chen, he would probably be frustrated to death. Even if he wanted to cry, he would not be able to do so. What could be more frustrating than this? Chapter 1335. Haha. Blue Dragon King, since you are already here, why are you in such a rush to leave? Just at that moment, a burst of laughter rang out in the sky. An imposing old man slowly walked over. A powerful aura emanated from his body, causing everyone to feel a wave of pressure. This was a ninth heaven sovereign martial emperor, an existence comparable to the three holy masters of the human race. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat as he guessed the other party's identity. The five-poison old man on the invitation was the one before him. When Chen Feng saw this old man, he immediately went forward to welcome him respectfully. Old sect master, why are you here? The five-poison old man snorted coldly. Chen Feng, you have to give me an explanation for the assassination of the Blue Dragon King. I told you to entertain the Blue Dragon King, but the Blue Dragon King nearly died. If this news spreads, how will the five-poison sect keep its face? If the Haotian Prime questions it, I will not know where to hide my old face. Chen Feng lowered his head and said, Old sect master, you are right. In the five-poison sect, the one with the highest authority was not the current sect master but the retired old sect master. Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised. He had not expected that the old sect master, who had already made his decision, would appear again. In that case, would the situation in the five-poison sect change? The five-poison old man asked the old men from the Yinyang Paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy. The five-poison old man said to the old men from the Yinyang Paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy. Haha, of course. Naturally, we do not have any objections. The two quickly nodded in agreement and left Xiao Chen's side at the same time. After a while, Xiao Chen and the five-poison old man appeared on the roof of a pavilion. When the five-poison old man saw Xiao Chen, the first thing he asked was, Blue Dragon King, can you tell me how you killed that fifth heaven martial emperor? Xiao Chen hesitated for a moment before opening his palm, and a Buddhist lamp slowly rose up. A hazy Buddhist voice echoed in the area. The Sarira floated in the air, giving off rings of Buddhist light. Within the Buddhist light, one could vaguely see an illusory Buddha. The five-poison old man narrowed his eyes as he stared at the heavenly snow divine flame in the Buddhist lamp. He asked uncertainly, This is a primal chaos level flame? Xiao Chen nodded. I just nurtured the primal chaos level heavenly snow divine flame to rank 1 and gained some special abilities. It can swallow up the primordial energy in the other party's body without them realizing it, temporarily reducing the other party's strength. When the five poisons elder heard this, he was startled. This Xiao Chen was really lucky. He also had a Buddhist lamp and a Sarira at the same time. Otherwise, when would he be able to raise his primordial chaos level flame to the first grade? However, that was not right. The heavenly snow divine flame alone could not kill a fifth heaven martial emperor. In the end, a rank 1 primal chaos level flame was still too weak. Even if Xiao Chen caught Elder Ma off guard and injured him, even swallowing up a lot of his primordial energy, Elder Ma still had his foundation. If he wanted to run, he would definitely be able to. A light flickered in the five poisons elder's eyes as he muttered, Just this heavenly snow divine flame alone cannot kill Elder Ma. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. This five poisons elder's eyes were really sharp. However, Xiao Chen had no intention of telling the other party about his Dermic World trump card. Dermic World was an immortal art major magic skill, Xiao Chen's greatest trump card. It could allow him to instantly change the situation. Once he revealed it, his opponent would be on guard, and he would lose the sure kill effect. After all, this Dermic World lasted only a few seconds. It relied on catching the opponent off guard and killing instantly. Xiao Chen nodded and said, Indeed, I still have my greatest trump card. However, please forgive me. I cannot tell Senior about this trump card. Ah, this old man still understands this principle. I thought about it. The five poison sect startled you this time, so we owe you a favor. How do you want to repay me in the future? Just say the word, the 5-poison old man said with a loud laugh. He did not mind that Xiao Chen did not tell him about his trump card. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. With the 5 poisons elder saying that, he had tactfully changed his original decision to remain neutral. Many thanks, Senior. Outside the pavilion, Chen Feng, Chen Ying, and Gong Taihua waited anxiously. Chen Ying appeared distracted. His voice sounded somewhat weak as he asked, Father, is it certain that the 5-poison sect will side with the Dragon's Gate? Chen Feng nodded. Most likely. The strength that this Blue Dragon King displayed is too shocking. The Yinyang Paradise and the Heavenly Province Academy will definitely place their future on him. The old sect master will have to make some changes. Times have changed. Chen Ying's expression changed slightly, appearing extremely dissatisfied. As for Gong Taihua, his expression changed greatly, feeling extremely depressed and conflicted. Chen Feng waved his hand and said, Oh right. Elder Gong, when the Blue Dragon King comes out, apologize to him. What? Me apologize to him? Gong Taihua exclaimed in shock. Chen Feng's eyes widened and he barked, Why? You're not willing? Gong Taihua could feel the pressure from Chen Feng. Cold sweat dripped down his back as he sighed. I only have myself to blame. When he comes out, I'll personally apologize to him. After Xiao Chen ended his conversation with the 5-poison old man, he walked out calmly. He just smiled at Gong Taihua's apology and did not kick him when he was down. When he came out of the pavilion, the 2 elders from the Heavenly Province Academy and the Yinyang Paradise kept pestering Xiao Chen. This put Xiao Chen in a difficult position. He couldn't reject the hospitality of both parties, so it wouldn't be good for him to visit either one first. Xiao Chen wanted to visit the Heavenly Province Academy first. He was interested in the Taoist remnant that the other party mentioned. But seeing Yin Susu's pitiful eyes, he couldn't bear to refuse. Moreover, Yin Susu had spoken up for him earlier. In the end, Xiao Chen decided to go to the Yinyang Paradise first. However, he guaranteed that he would head to the Heavenly Province Academy after leaving the Yinyang Paradise. 2 days later, the news of the failed assassination reached the ears of the Divine Daughter, Tianyu Shi. Even after the 5th Heaven Emperor Wu wasted a dimensional divine talisman, he still could not kill Xiao Chen. This greatly shocked Tianyu Shi. Could it be that only sovereign martial emperors could kill Xiao Chen now? However, no matter which faction, sovereign martial emperors were the peak combat prowess, extremely rare. If Xiao Chen rashly used a sovereign martial emperor, it would trigger an all-out war. However, it was not time yet. Clearly, it was not the time for an all-out war. Furthermore, if they sent out a sovereign martial emperor and still let Xiao Chen escape, the losses would outweigh the gains. After the shock came rage, and Tianyu Shi's face flushed red. Tianyu Shi's dignified face flushed slightly in anger. This time, not only did the assassination fail, but it even helped Xiao Chen succeed. The 3 Holy Lands of the Eastern Sea had all agreed to help Xiao Chen at the crucial moment. This was the so-called going for wool and coming home shorn. Tianyu Shi felt extremely depressed in her heart. She felt like there was a rock blocking her chest, feeling extremely uncomfortable. When the news of Xiao Chen killing a 5th Heaven Martial Emperor and obtaining the support of the 3 Holy Lands spread, the entire heavenly starry ocean was set abuzz. The Dragon's Gates, Xiao Chen's reputation soared, and the might of the deity Dao Union was suppressed. There was simply no chance for the deity Dao Union to turn the situation around. The resulting chain reaction was that most of the 9 ranks of the great families chose to wait and see at this moment. The sects that had promised the deity race all returned the great gifts that the deity race sent. This caused Tianyu Shi to feel a great sense of defeat and helplessness. Now, the entire heavenly starry ocean was discussing where Xiao Chen would go next. The Blue Dragon King's aura flourished like the sun in the sky. Divine Daughter, there is no need to worry. When the Divine Son comes out of closed-door cultivation, he will definitely be able to turn the situation around and suppress Shao Chen in one go. There is a saying, the higher one flies, the harder one falls. Let's see how long he can remain cocky. Qin Xiu, who had messed up, consoled Shao Chen. Tianyu Shi rubbed his forehead and said softly, I have confidence in the Divine Son. As long as he comes out of closed-door cultivation, all the problems will be easily solved. However, I fear that when he comes out, all the holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean will be finished. Qin Xiu said, There is no need to be afraid. There is still the Northern Sea Alliance. Since Xiao Hoju said that he is confident, he should be able to make Shao Chen's backyard burn. When he gets flustered, we can use all our trump cards on the Lunar Palace. Tianyu Shi nodded heavily and said, That's right. The Lunar Palace. We have to take down the Lunar Palace. No matter how many holy lands Shao Chen obtains, as long as the Lunar Palace supports the deity Dao Union, all his efforts will go to waste. Qin Xiu smiled and said, Furthermore, the Lunar Palace had a deep grudge with the Qing Emperor back then. During the Four Seas Hero Gathering, the Lunar Palace's palace master even chased Shao Chen away. After analyzing everything, Tianyu Shi calmed down. She stood up and paced around calmly before saying, Shao Chen always felt that the Northern Sea Alliance would not require much effort. It was like his backyard. His next stop should be the Zodiac Hall. Uncle Qin, do you think we can stop him? Qin Xiu said after some thought, The Zodiac Hall is rather difficult to deal with. There are many factions in the heavenly starry ocean. In terms of accumulations, the first is the Lunar Palace, and the second is the Zodiac Hall. However, from the start to the end, that cyclic astral lord has never intended to meet us. Tianyu Shi shook her head and said, This cyclic astral lord is a wily old fox. He sees things very clearly. He directly stated that building a shrine in the cyclic astral palace's territory is tantamount to declaring war. Qin Xiu said coldly, He does not know how to appreciate favors. Now is a heaven-sent opportunity. With the Thunder King not around, this is a great opportunity for our deity race to unify the Kunlun realm. No one can stop this trend. Tianyu Shi waved his hand and said, Don't say that again. Now is not the time to bare your fangs. How about we go and meet the Treasure Master? Qin Xiu suggested. When Tianyu Shi heard about the Treasure Master, she revealed a grave expression. Let me think about it. The deity sovereign told me that even he could not see through this Treasure Master. If we can avoid meeting him, we should avoid meeting him. Otherwise, he will see through our trump cards. However, the Blue Dragon King's momentum is very strong, the Divine Son is still in closed-door cultivation, and the personal disciples of the Dongyue Ghost Emperor and the Heaven-Punishing Corpse God have not arrived yet. We do not have many pawns that we can use. See, indecisiveness would only lead to chaos. After thinking for a while, Tianyu Shi finally made up his mind. He would listen to the Treasure Master's suggestion on how to stop Shao Chen from convincing the cyclic astral lord. If necessary, he could use the Treasure Master's strength. Shao Chen remained in the Eastern Sea for half a month. He spent most of that time in the Heavenly Province Academy. Chapter 1336. The Taoist and Confucian relics in the Academy fascinated him. If not for the urgency of time, he would have stayed longer. This trip could be considered a great harvest. The three immortal Holy Lands all agreed that at the crucial moment, as long as Shao Chen gave the word, they would go all out. Just as Tianyu Shi had guessed, his next destination was indeed the Zodiac Hall, the Holy Land that he had many grudges with. The Saint Fu Hongxue and the Saint Chu Yang both hated him to the core. At a crucial moment like this, he would be thanking the heavens if he didn't step on the other party. It would be difficult for him to count on the other party's help. As for the Moon Palace, which was even more powerful than the Zodiac Hall, that was a pain in Shao Chen's heart. He had been chased out of the Four Seas hero, gathering in a sorry state, and said that he was never welcome there. He didn't dare to think about it, and he couldn't be bothered to think about it. Finally, the remaining major faction of the heavenly starry ocean was the Northern Sea Alliance. In Xiao Chen's opinion, this should not be too difficult. All he had to do was go and let them know. Strolling on the surface of the sea, Xiao Chen identified the direction of the Zodiac Hall and leaped like a dragon, moving as fast as lightning. He had both the swiftness of a dragon and the dexterity of a fish. With both at the same time, he was like a fish in water in the air. In the past, when one's speed reached a certain limit, the air would become the biggest obstacle. Now that Xiao Chen executed the fish dragon art, he could use the air as his resistance, raising his speed to another level. At this speed, after 3 days, Xiao Chen arrived at the sea where the Zodiac Hall was located. As one of the 3 peak holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean, the Zodiac Hall covered an extremely vast sea region. Aside from the sea region, all the major factions within 5,000 kilometers were attached to the Astral Palace. After passing through the subsidiary sea regions, a strange and colorful scene appeared in front of Xiao Chen. There were no ripples on the vast surface of the sea. It was like a bright mirror, full of spirituality. One could imagine an ocean that spanned millions of square kilometers, neatly arranged like a mirror in front of one's eyes. One could imagine how majestic it was. During the day, in this mirror-like sea region, only a huge sun was reflected in it. The sun in the water was dazzling and piercing, as if there really was a huge fireball burning wildly in the water. The blazing sunlight reflected each other, making it impossible to see with the naked eye. The countless buildings of the Astral Palace, including the pavilions and pavilions, seemed to have disappeared. In the boundless sea there was only a great sun. Apart from that, nothing else existed. Xiao Chen watched from afar, feeling shocked in his heart. The cyclic Astral Palace's accumulations were deep, not something the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace could compare to. The cyclic Astral Palace was right before his eyes, but he could not enter. This mysterious formation was somewhat vexing. The god. To the Zodiac Spirit Sect, Xiao Chen thought to himself as he looked at the sun in the water. Logically speaking, the cyclic Astral Palace should have sensed his arrival. Xiao Spirit. As for what? As he to the Chen, the God Sect, the sea, and the four. An invisible barrier blocked Xiao Chen's spiritual sense 1 kilometer in front, preventing it from entering. The formation looked extremely simple, and there was no danger at all. It was as if one could just walk into it. However, Xiao Chen's sharp intuition told him that it was dangerous enough to threaten his life. Zodiac Hall's lair would not be so simple. Go! After thinking hard, Xiao Chen could not figure it out. So, he pointed with his finger and executed the life bestowal spell. It even materialized Xiao Chen's image and flew forward. Whoosh! Without any warning, hundreds of dazzling lights suddenly appeared in the vast sky above the sea in front of them. The lights flickered and gave off a resplendent light, looking like a miniature sun. Pain. Xiao Chen's eyes hurt. He took 2 steps back and covered his eyes, rubbing them gently. When he opened his eyes again, the vast sea had returned to normal. As for the clone that Xiao Chen formed with the life bestowal spell, its entire body was burning. In mere moments, it evaporated into steam. Horror flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Indeed, it was not as simple as he thought. If his true body charged over, the attack he would receive would be 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times stronger. The moment Xiao Chen covered his eyes, he saw that resplendent sun-like light very clearly. That was the purest solar true flame. Furthermore, there was not just one but thousands upon thousands of them. When all of them gathered together, the might was unimaginable to Xiao Chen. That was not all. The vast solar true flame under the sea did not move at all. If it really moved, it might even injure a prime, right? It looked like there would be no more opportunities during the day. Xiao Chen thought for a while and decided to wait until night to see the situation. Time passed. When the sun set in the west and the last of its afterglow vanished, the entire sky turned dark. The entire sky turned dark and the stars twinkled. Together with the moon, it was a magnificent sight. As Xiao Chen stood on the sea, it felt like he could reach the stars just by stretching out his hand. At the same time, it also felt like it was unreachable. Many stars flickered on the surface of the sea as well. At this moment, the sea and the sky seemed to merge into one. What was even more miraculous was that the many palaces that could not be seen with the naked eye were too dazzling during the day. When night fell, these palaces all appeared out of nowhere on the surface of the sea. They were like night pearls of the vast sea, giving off a gentle light. They attracted the starlight of the universe to descend. Many beams of starlight gathered and intertwined, looking very dazzling, dense but not gaudy. When Xiao Chen was among them, he felt rueful. The so-called fantasy world was probably nothing more than this. He could see that the railings of the many palaces were all filled with people with arrogant expressions in their eyes. There was an arrogant look in their eyes as they conversed with each other. Their gazes were all focused on him. The Big Dipper Palace, the South Dipper Palace, the Moon Palace, the Sun Palace, the Moon Palace, all the palaces were filled with Astral Palace disciples. As they watched the famous Blue Dragon King of the Heavenly Starry Ocean get blocked outside the formation, they pointed at him and whispered to each other, laughing endlessly. Xiao Chen could see everyone looking at him with his naked eye. However, the formless barrier made it seem like he was in a different world from the people of the Astral Palace, never having any contact. 3 of Xiao Chen's old friends were coldly eyeing him from the Sun Palace. On the left was the holy daughter Fu Hongxue, and on the right was Yi Ling, whom Xiao Chen could not guess. Life bestowal spell. Xiao Chen pointed and tried again. Thousands of figures leaped out of the seawater, advancing wave after wave, covering the sky as they charged forward. Whoosh! The pillars of starlight above the 3,000 palaces swept out and crushed Xiao Chen's clones like they were dry weeds. A brilliant light appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He instantly memorized the positions of all the pillars of starlight. Then, he pushed off with his feet and charged over. As Xiao Chen walked on the surface of the sea, the wind howled in his ears, and his white robes flapped noisily. Beams of light condensed from starlight either swept over, chopped down, or fell from the sky. There were so many of them, and they were ever-changing. Immediately, all the starlight gathered around Xiao Chen. Everywhere else was pitch black. In the darkness, the gazes of countless Astral Palace disciples focused on Xiao Chen, who was surrounded by the gathering starlight. Amid the complicated attacks of the starlight filling the sky, Xiao Chen alternated between the front and back, his figure drifting gracefully. Sometimes, he turned into a dragon and soared into the sky in a rage. Sometimes, he turned into a fish, changing thousands of times. Xiao Chen brought out the fish-dragon art to its limit. Amid this chaotic and gorgeous attack, not a single speck of starlight touched him. Boom! 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 The seawater surged, and the waves rose up like pillars. Xiao Chen's white robes and white hair looked like he was dancing with the stars. His supreme grace made the stars lose their color. Xiao Chen's figure attracted all the Astral Palace disciples, intoxicated by his dreamy dance, forgetting about the even more resplendent starlight. The stars twinkle, dancing for me. Time went by. Xiao Chen figured out the attack power of the starlight and heaved a sigh of relief. The Astral Palace's upper echelon still had not forced him into a dead end. The attack of this starlight was not that strong. Furthermore, there did not seem to be anyone managing this formation. Indeed, this is a test for me. There is still a weakness. Otherwise, even a sovereign martial emperor would not be able to clear it. In that case, let's draw the lunar shadow saber. Whoosh! A melodious saber hum silently resounded in the sky. As this saber hum rang out, Xiao Chen's aura changed. A sharp light radiated from his entire body, no longer suppressing him. Xiao Chen drew his saber and advanced bravely. The saber hum turned into an aura. He chopped through the starlight and shattered the waves. He was like a true dragon descending, unstoppable. Up at the Sun Palace, the expressions of the three changed slightly, shock flashing in their eyes. Chu Yang rapped on the railing with one hand and said softly, "Hongxue, go and take a look." Fu Hongxue nodded gently. Then, his figure drifted higher and higher under the illumination of the full moon. After a while, Fu Hongxue's sword-wielding figure seemed to merge with the moon. Fu Hongxue merged with the moon, flying in the sky. As her sword fluttered, she attracted all the starlight in the world. Just as Xiao Chen was about to cross the barrier, Fu Hongxue narrowed his eyes in the bright moon and pointed. A sword intent surged out, and a heavenly immortal sword descended from the moon. Xiao Chen, who was advancing forward with an indomitable will, suddenly felt an extremely dangerous aura. His entire body turned cold, and he pulled back and retreated. Bang! Xiao Chen barely dodged this sword strike. However, the shock wave that spread out knocked him back, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. It was hard to imagine what the consequences would be if this sword strike struck him. Just as Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief after surviving a calamity, an unexpected attack shot out from the sea region of Zodiac Hall. There was a starry sky under the sea. It was the same bright moon and the same sword. This sword strike caught Xiao Chen off guard. A large hole opened in his chest, and blood gushed out like a fountain. As Xiao Chen retreated, the blood splattered into the night sky. The blood mixed with the starlight, giving off a mesmerizing light. Xiao Chen retreated quickly. As he looked at the scarlet moonlight, his eyes turned hazy. He forgot about pain, time, and all the distractions. This scene was very miserable. That person's white robes were stained with blood. Blood gushed out of the wound on his chest, dyeing the night sky red. However, one could clearly see a trace of stubbornness in those hazy eyes under the illumination of the stars. Chapter 1337. Ha 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 ha. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, even if you subdued the myriad fiend island and made the lands of the eastern seas 3 holy masters submit to you, you are nothing before my astral palace. You cannot even enter these gates. Chu Yang suddenly reared his head back and laughed. The depression that had accumulated in his heart for many years erupted with this scene. Chu Yang suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. The depression that had accumulated in his heart for many years completely erupted with this scene. There was no place in his body that did not feel comfortable. Chu Yang even vaguely felt that his strength had improved. The heart demon that Xiao Chen created for him was broken at this moment. The young treasure master, Yi Ling, smiled faintly and said, "I already said that as long as I can convince the Astral Palace Master to open the infinite world Yin-Yang twin star formation, I will definitely be able to block Xiao Chen and humiliate him." Chu Yang felt very carefree. He shouted, "Xiao Chen, if you beg me, I will open the doors to the Astral Palace and give you a chance." Xiao Chen's mind was clear, not disturbed by any external factors. What was hope? Fighting with others, fighting with oneself, fighting with the heavens. One could not ask for it and could not ask for it. An opportunity given by others could not become hope. One could only fight. If Xiao Chen could not break it during the day or at night, when could he break this formation? Suddenly, inspiration flashed in Xiao Chen's heart as he thought of something. Heaven never bars one's way. Since the Astral Palace Master used this formation to test him, there had to be a way to break it. I figured it out. As Xiao Chen landed, a hazy glow appeared in the distant east. Dawn was approaching. Right now, the moon waned and the sun rose. This was the boundary between day and night. Be it the power of the sun or the power of the moon, they were at their weakest. In the next moment, the morning sun flickered and dawn arrived. Xiao Chen took out the cycle banner and materialized 5 layers of starlight, massacre, death, ruin, despair, and grief. Then, a five-colored wall of starlight appeared behind him. Seizing this fleeting opportunity, Shao Chen shouted and gathered all his primordial energy into the cycle banner. Then, he ferociously thrust it forward. Kacha kacha! This strike that gathered all of Shao Chen's strength was like a hot knife cutting through butter. It swept through everything in its path and created a path of starlight. The cycle banner was extraordinarily fast. One moment Chu Yang felt that it was far away. The next moment, it had already arrived before him. The sudden attack frightened him so much that his face turned pale, and he retreated hastily. Just when he had nowhere to retreat, he closed his eyes in despair. A delicate hand grabbed the flagpole. When the tip of the flag was only an inch away from the tip of his nose, it stopped. Chu Yang couldn't open his eyes due to the strong wind brought by the war flag. The wind was so loud that his long hair was blown backwards. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the sun rising in the east, scattering down endless golden light. The white figure bathed in the golden sunlight was too dazzling and blurry. It gave him the feeling that he was a god supreme and supreme. The entire Star Palace fell silent. When they saw the white figure charging in, they were completely stunned. The wound on his chest was slowly healing. On the surface, it was no longer a big problem. However, that sword chi contained a soft yin chi. It could not be completely eliminated in a short time. Shao Chen withdrew his hand, and the cycle banner instantly entered the universe ring. The young treasure master, Yi Ling, opened his eyes wide. He looked a few times before he was sure that Shao Chen had really come up. Shao Chen had broken through the seal of the limitless heaven and earth sun formation and arrived at the Sun Palace. Something that was originally thought to be impossible actually happened to Shao Chen. Shao Chen had been entrusted by Tian Yushi. After putting in so much effort, he finally managed to convince the cyclic astral lord. Unexpectedly, this was the result. Chu Yang recovered his wits and looked at Shao Chen's familiar face. He was originally feeling very comfortable. Shao Chen, who was originally feeling very comfortable, fell from the clouds to the ground. His heart pounded wildly, and his breathing turned ragged. His complexion turned increasingly darker. Why is it like this? I clearly blocked him, but he still managed to break through. Could it be that I, Chu Yang, am really inferior to him? As the Sun Palace's holy son, I am not even half as good as him? The pain, conflict, and depression in Chu Yang's heart caused his heart to race even faster. When Shao Chen saw the other party's state, he frowned slightly. This Chu Yang's emotional state was in chaos, like he was about to enter a state of berserking chi deviation. Bang! Suddenly, Shao Chen stepped forward and ferociously smashed a palm strike on Chu Yang's chest. Pu Ci! Chu Yang vomited a mouthful of blood as he went flying back. Shao Chen, what are you trying to do? The Moon Palace's holy daughter floated down from the sky. When she saw this scene, her expression changed drastically. She quickly went over to support Chu Yang and spoke to Shao Chen with murderous intent. Whoosh! 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 At the same time, the palaces above the sea that looked like night pearls emitted killing intent at the same time, locking onto Shao Chen. The atmosphere immediately turned extremely tense. Old men flew out from the palaces in the surroundings. After a while, they surrounded Shao Chen, blocking all his escape routes. Don't attack! Don't attack! Chu Yang shouted quickly when he saw this scene. At this moment, Chu Yang's complexion was pale, and he appeared weak. However, he was clearly much more relaxed. Chu Yang's breathing turned calm, and he suddenly felt more at ease. His earlier extreme state immediately vanished. Chu Yang, what's going on? The Moon Palace's holy daughter asked somewhat anxiously. Chu Yang waved his hand and looked at Shao Chen. After a long silence he said, "Many thanks." That was right. It was indeed the word, "many thanks." To think that Chu Yang actually said these two words. Yi Ling and the Moon Palace's holy daughter felt somewhat shocked. Shao Chen said calmly, It was just a casual action. No matter who it is, they cannot make him enter a state of berserking chi deviation before me. In the earlier palm strike, Xiao Chen did not kill Chu Yang. He only dredged up the blood near the other party's heart meridian. This allowed Chu Yang to calm down and not dwell on it. Many times, when a person entered a state of berserking chi deviation, it was just a moment of rashness. After one truly entered a state of berserking chi deviation, it was extremely difficult to turn back. At the crucial moment, there was someone to help Chu Yang calm down. After he thought things through, he would feel that it was no big deal. Young Treasure Master Yi Ling, you should go first. I will invite you to the Cyclic Astral Palace as a guest another day, Chu Yang said calmly as he faced Yi Ling. When Yi Ling heard this, his expression changed slightly. To think that Chu Yang wanted to chase him away. How could he allow this? Chu Yang, we already agreed to chase this fellow out of the Cyclic Astral Palace together. Don't tell me that you forgot all the humiliation you suffered in the past just because he struck you with a palm strike. Chu Yang had just experienced great ups and downs, coming back from the brink of entering a state of berserking chi deviation. He immediately figured out many things that he could not figure out. When Xiao Chen saw Yi Ling trying to sow dissension, he said sullenly, "The so-called humiliation is just a thought. If you think too highly of yourself, that is humiliation. If you think too lowly of yourself, that is not humiliation. In this world, no one is the main character. No one is nobler than anyone else. Could it be that you can't even endure some grievances? How can there be no twists and turns on the path of cultivation? As long as you do your best and feel at ease, it is fine. How many people seek a moment of pleasure and become restless? How could they truly care about your life or death? Take a good look and see who your true friend is." Yi Ling retorted angrily. "Xiao Chen, stop quibbling. What do you mean I seek a moment of pleasure and do not care about Chu Yang's life or death?" Xiao Chen's eyes remained calm, not showing any ripples. He said calmly, "Is that not the case? There is no need for you to retort. Time will prove whether what I said is right or wrong. How many people seek a moment of pleasure and do not truly care about your life or death? Who is your true friend?" Chu Yang's heart was greatly shaken. He repeatedly chewed on this sentence in his mind. He felt as if he was suddenly enlightened, and he instantly understood. Well said. Those who can give you a moment of pleasure and relieve your worries are not your friends. Those who can give you a lifetime of pleasure without regrets, seeking freedom and peace of mind, are true friends. As the two argued, a youth with exquisite facial features and eyes like stars and gems walked over with large strides, leading a group of old men. As he walked, he exuded an extraordinary aura. It was as if all the light in the world had gathered on him. His charm was boundless, overshadowing everyone else's brilliance. "Greetings, Star Lord." The disciples of the thousands of palaces and the tens of thousands of astral palaces disciples saw this person suddenly appear. In fear and trepidation, he knelt down and said respectfully. Chu Yang and the Holy Maiden of Moon Palace were both startled. They hurriedly cupped their hands and bowed. "Greetings, Master." It turned out that this person was the Cyclic Astral Lord. Indeed, he possessed boundless charm and a strong aura. Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and bowed slightly. The young treasure master, Yi Ling, did not feel satisfied in his heart. Being criticized by the Astral Lord without even mentioning him made him feel extremely upset. However, Xiao Chen still had to pay his respects. He said with a sullen expression, "Young treasure master Yi Ling greets the Astral Lord." The Cyclic Astral Lord looked at Yi Ling and smiled. "Do you think I do not know what the treasure master is thinking? I am also very clear on your purpose in coming here. However, I still have to thank Chu Yang for convincing me to activate the infinite heaven and earth formation of extreme yin and yang." Yi Ling immediately felt anxious. He wanted to explain, but the Cyclic Astral Lord interrupted him. You can go now. Pass a message to the treasure master for me. Others might not know his background, but I do. Don't let me get my hands on any evidence. Otherwise, I will smack him to death at any time. Feeling the cyclic astral lord's murderous intent, Yi Ling's heart sank. He was so frightened that his body started trembling. Yes, this junior will leave now. After saying that, Yi Ling glared at Xiao Chen hatefully. Then, he boarded the golden war chariot and left in a crestfallen manner. The cyclic astral lord appeared to be in a good mood. He took out a bottle of medicinal pills and handed it to Xiao Chen. He said, "Blue Dragon King, the lunar sword qi in your body will not be removed for at least half a month. There is a Xingyang pill in there. It can help you recover in 3 days." Xiao Chen received the jade bottle and opened it to take a sniff. Immediately, a fiery aura turned into a warm current flowing through his body. His wounds immediately felt much better. "Many thanks." The cyclic astral lord smiled faintly. Then, he looked at Chu Yang and said, "Today you experienced great ups and downs, right and wrong. I believe you will be able to see things more clearly. Take advantage of this opportunity and enter closed-door cultivation. Within 3 months, you will definitely reach consummation, blue-robed emperor." "Yes." Chu Yang bowed respectfully and withdrew quietly with the Moon Palace's holy daughter. "All of you withdraw. I want to have a private chat with the Blue Dragon King." Xiao Chen looked at the surrounding cyclic astral palace disciples and the elders with respectful expressions. He thought to himself, "This cyclic astral lord reminds me of the words, hero and heroine." The cyclic astral lord naturally has a charisma that makes people respect him and want to get close to him. He truly lives up to his reputation as a hero and heroine. Speaking of which, you are really bold. Back then, during the Dragon's Gate's re-establishment ceremony, I was the greatest opponent behind the scenes. How did you get the guts to come to my Zodiac Hall? Are you not afraid that I will smack you to death with one palm strike? The cyclic astral lord asked interestedly. The cyclic astral lord's tone was relaxed, like he was just casually asking. However, he inadvertently put a lot of pressure on Xiao Chen. This was the first time Xiao Chen met with someone with such a strong aura. He was not in a rush to speak. After he calmed himself, he said sullenly, "I cannot figure out the cyclic astral lord's heart. However, I can see the world that the cyclic astral lord sees. Hence, I'm here." Chapter 1338. The cyclic astral lord smiled faintly. His handsome face was like a bright star suddenly flickering in the dark starry heavens. However, the cyclic astral lord did not ask Xiao Chen what the world looked like to him. Instead, he spoke of something else. "What do you think of the limitless world's sun and moon formation?" Xiao Chen replied without hesitation, "It is very strong. If I guessed right, there should be someone managing it in every palace. This is especially so for the sun and the moon. There should be 2 peak experts controlling them. If they unleash their full might, even a prime would not be able to barge in. The formation that I saw was just the tip of the iceberg. They purposely hid a weakness from me." Surprise flashed in the cyclic astral lord's eyes as he asked, "What do you mean?" Xiao Chen answered honestly, "The moon wanes and the sun rises. This weakness is too obvious. Given the cyclic astral palace's long accumulations, someone would have noticed this weakness and tried to improve it." The cyclic astral lord smiled and said, "Good eyes. However, you are still too humble. I originally guessed that you would have to observe for at least 3 days before you could find this weakness. Who would have thought that just as dawn broke, you would seize this fleeting opportunity? I relied on the cycle banner to break it. If it were an ordinary person, even if they knew this weakness, they would not be able to enter so easily. Cycle banner, let me take a look." The cyclic astral lord took the cycle banner from Xiao Chen's hands and gently waved it. The scarlet banner flapped loudly, giving off a sound like the waves of the sea. Aside from 2 of the 7 astral pearls on the banner, the other 5 lit up. The astral pearls they gave off were 10 times more resplendent than when they were in Xiao Chen's hands. They immediately suppressed the sunlight, suddenly making night appear. Whoosh! The cyclic astral lord swept up the banner and praised, "Not bad. However, this refining technique is somewhat crude. I'll help you refine it. There should be some breakthroughs in the quality of this banner." Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. No one in the world could compare to the cyclic astral lord in refining astral banners. However, how unfortunate, could there be a change? Xiao Chen asked doubtfully, "Cyclic astral lord, what unfortunate?" "Unfortunately, I only have the pain throne. If I had the destruction throne, I would be able to complete your astral banners." Xiao Chen was slightly stunned before he reacted. How was this a pity? It was clearly a pleasant surprise. Suppressing his excitement, Xiao Chen asked, Astral Lord, Xiao Chen, I, Cyclic Astral Lord, Saint, Astral Lord, Sea, Cloud. I, Xiao Chen said, Jade Sovereign, I, Astral Lord, Sun, Astral. King Dragon, Chen said, I, King, if world, King should he, the, Xiao Chen said. Dragon King, Chen, comma, Chen. In fact, he even obtained one of the thrones. The cyclic astral lord continued, "It looks like you want to comprehend the state of cycle. This is extremely difficult to comprehend. After you advance to Martial Emperor, I can accompany you to the Mirage Immortal Palace to take a look at the ancient stone wall with the cycle arts and try your luck." "In that case, many thanks, Cyclic Astral Lord." The Cyclic Astral Lord smiled casually and said, "It's just a small matter. I'll help you keep the cycle banner first. I'll bring you around the Cyclic Astral Palace." Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He was not afraid of the Cyclic Astral Lord swallowing his cycle banner. He found it strange that the Cyclic Astral Lord thought so highly of him. After all, in the past, the Cyclic Astral Palace was part of the camp that suppressed Xiao Chen. "I'll just take a look." Xiao Chen did not say anything as he followed the Cyclic Astral Lord around the various places of the Zodiac Hall. Along the way, the Cyclic Astral Lord gave Xiao Chen a detailed explanation of the history of the various Cyclic Astral Palaces, as well as some interesting news. However, the Cyclic Astral Lord did not mention anything about Xiao Chen's purpose for coming here at all, puzzling him. Xiao Chen maintained his composure. He chatted casually before such a major character, occasionally offering some insight. This made the Cyclic Astral Lord's eyes light up. The two of them were like best friends, walking around everywhere and chatting happily. Xiao Chen could be considered a fox borrowing the tiger's might to intimidate the Cyclic Astral Lord. As he walked, the people of the Cyclic Astral Palace, from the elders to the disciples, all showed him great respect. "Come, I'll bring you to a place that will interest you." After touring all the Cyclic Astral Palaces, the Cyclic Astral Lord led Xiao Chen into the sea. Splash! The two entered the water and sank continuously. Splash! The moment Xiao Chen entered the water, he was greatly startled. At the bottom of the sea, separated by boundless seawater, he could see a huge golden fireball burning continuously. Xiao Chen clearly knew that the golden fireball was very far away. However, he still felt like he could touch it just by stretching out his hand. Beside the golden fireball was a slightly weaker clump of pale white flame. Solar true flame and lunar true flame. Xiao Chen was suddenly startled. Could it be that the flame reflected in the water was not an illusion? Instead, it truly existed? If it was real, how shocking would that be? That should not be wrong. The 5 poison sect could cover the entire island with a 7-colored poison cloud. The Zodiac Hall had even deeper accumulations. How could it not have other trump cards? The two sank for an unknown distance. There were many guards along the way, but the Cyclic Astral Lord dismissed them with a wave of his hand. "There is a small dimensional formation in front. I'll bring you through it, and you will be able to see the true accumulations of the Zodiac Hall. The cyclic astral lord grabbed Xiao Qin and leaped forward. The scene before them suddenly changed. Surging heat waves surged over. Xiao Qin looked to the front and saw a 10-kilometer-wide flame pool covered in formation patterns. It contained incredibly pure solar true flame and lunar true flame. The quantity of the two was the same, maintaining a good balance. However, they could not truly merge. At this moment, the sun was setting over the sea, causing the solar true flame before them to burn fiercely. As for the lunar true flame, it was deathly still. It would probably release its light only at night. Dee-da, dee-da. Drops of golden flames above Xiao Qin looked like water droplet. They formed a line and fell rhythmically into the solar true flame. Xiao Qin was so shocked that he could not speak. He could sense that the drops of solar true flame were extremely pure and of high quality, at least rank 9. This is the wealth that the Zodiac Hall accumulated over tens of thousands of years. How is it? I heard that you cultivate these two flames as well. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly and said, "It is not worth mentioning. It is not worth mentioning." Xiao Qin's solar true flame and lunar true flame were only rank 5. The main reason was that the lunar true flame was too difficult to collect. The two needed to maintain a balance, which held back Xiao Qin's rhythm. Compared to the flames before him, not only the quantity but also the quality were worlds apart. They were not worth mentioning at all. If Xiao Qin completely grasped this flame before him, the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram he formed would be extremely horrifying. That's right. This lunar true flame and solar true flame are extremely difficult to collect. I'll give you some, then. The cyclic astral lord casually waved his hand, and a huge golden crow and a flaming phoenix leaped out of the flame pool before him. The golden crow was made of the solar true flame, and the flaming phoenix was made of the lunar true flame. They spread their wings and flew, looking very lively and giving off holy might. The golden crow and the flaming phoenix entered the cyclic astral lord's hands and turned into two clumps of extremely dense flames. This gift was too great, so great that Xiao Qin did not dare to accept it casually. These two clumps of flames were at least 10 times stronger than what Xiao Qin had. They could allow him to advance by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. Right. This requires the cyclic astral palace to accumulate for 1,000 years. Unfortunately, you are not strong enough. Otherwise, I could give you more. The cyclic astral lord said very casually, not showing any heartache at all. This person is not simple. This stunned Xiao Qin. Compared to the cyclic astral lord, Xiao Qin was more willing to spend time with the strange myriad law fiend master. Losing some patience, Xiao Qin said seriously, "Cyclic astral lord, there is no need to beat around the bush. I am not arrogant enough to think that I can convince you just by breaking one formation. I can feel that while you appear to be very enthusiastic, you are not sincere at all." The cyclic astral lord's smile widened. "I find myself admiring you more and more. You are standing at such a height at such a young age, yet you have not lost your heart at all. Tell me, why do you feel that I am not sincere?" Xiao Qin replied indifferently, "Because I already figured out your heart." Interesting. Earlier, you said that you saw the world that I could see, but you could not figure out my heart. I originally felt disdain for that. Very well, now tell me, what is in my heart? Desire, pride, and ambition. The moment Xiao Qin said that, the smile on Zodiac Hall's face slowly vanished, turning cold. His expression turned cold as he looked at Xiao Qin. There was a kind of perverted pride in his aloof expression. Did his face change? Perhaps it did not. This was the true face of the cyclic astral lord. Chapter 1339. After the cyclic astral lord lost his smile, the originally harmonious atmosphere between the two vanished without a trace. The atmosphere turned silent and oppressive. For some reason, Xiao Qin felt very at ease. He felt relaxed in his heart and did not regret it at all. Perhaps it was because Xiao Chen did not like to wear a mask or disguise when conversing with others. He did not like others wearing a mask to interact with him. That way it would be boring and oppressive. Xiao Chen faced his heart. He was such a person. Even though the cyclic astral lord was a prime, Xiao Chen was not willing to speak to him while wearing a mask. The cyclic astral lord said indifferently, "Xiao Chen, not to mention that you have not advanced to martial emperor yet, even if you did, you would still be a minor character in my eyes. Don't think too highly of yourself. You simply do not understand the world that I see." Xiao Chen smiled calmly and said, "What is there to not understand? Isn't it just being a prime with no way out? You do not have the courage of the Thunder King, daring to try the path that no one dares to take? The ambition and desire in your heart prevent you from being satisfied with your current accomplishments. Even if it is Zodiac Hall, as long as it can fulfill your ambition, you can easily give up on it." Whoosh! The temperature of the place suddenly plummeted. Xiao Chen was clearly not far from the solar true flame, but he felt a chill down his spine, chilling his heart. The cyclic astral lord's expression did not change. However, he did not hide his killing chi well, and it leaked out. "Continue," the cyclic astral lord said, enunciating every word with a sullen expression, not showing any emotional fluctuations. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely not dare to continue in such a situation. They feared enraging the cyclic astral lord and getting killed. Xiao Chen did not care. He already figured out what kind of person the other party was. In that case, there was nothing to fear. Furthermore, Xiao Chen firmly believed that this cyclic astral lord would not dare to make a move on him. "There is only one reason why you rejected the deity race. The deity race's conditions do not allow you to leave this abandoned land. The great chaos of the Kunlun realm, the calamity of the demons, and the survival of Zodiac Hall have nothing to do with you. You have long since grown tired of all this. Only I can show you the hope of leaving this abandoned land." Xiao Chen organized all the clues that he knew in his mind, meticulously analyzing them. Among the supreme beings he had met before, Big Brother Ing Zongtian was also ambitious, and wanted to leave this banished land. However, in the depths of Xiao Chen's heart, he was filled with worries. He could not let go of the Haotian sect or his friends and family in the Kunlun realm. Even if he really had the chance to leave the land of exile, he might not be able to bring himself to do so. However, this cyclic astral lord was different. As long as he had the chance, he would be willing to bury the entire Zodiac Hall with him. As long as he could fulfill his wish, he could give up everything. As for the Myriad Law Demon Master, he was indifferent to everything. Everything went according to his heart. If he could do it, then so be it. If he couldn't, then so be it. Xiao Chen spoke bluntly, not avoiding any taboo topic. The cyclic astral lord smiled faintly and said, "You are really good at guessing. However, you definitely would not have guessed that the Northern Sea Alliance, which you feel the most at ease with, is currently in internal strife. You also would not have guessed that no matter how much effort you put in, with just one word from the Lunar Palace, all the Holy Lands would change side." Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly, and the fluctuations in his heart appeared on his face. This made the cyclic astral lord reveal another smile. "As long as you say the word, I can help you settle the internal strife of the Northern Sea Alliance and refine the cycle banner. I can even give you this solar true flame." "What word?" The cyclic astral lord removed his disguise and took out a scarlet stone. Then, he stated his purpose. "This is a heavenly heart stone, obtained from the heavenly Tao. All you need to do is swear to bring me out of this banished land within 100 years. An oath stone. Little Three suddenly spoke from the three-life mirror, making Xiao Chen rejoice in his heart. He replied, "Little Three, you woke up?" Isn't that obvious? Elder Brother White Robes, if I did not wake up, how would Little Three talk to you? Elder Brother White Robes, you have to be careful with this oath stone. If you fail to do so, all the oaths will take effect. Xiao Qin was stunned. Unexpectedly, there was such a strange thing in the world. The cyclic astral lord continued, "If you fail, your heart will shatter and you will die." With the other holy lord, he spoke of favors and friendship. However, with this cyclic astral lord, it was a bare transaction. There was no such thing as favors. Or rather, the pride in the cyclic astral lord's heart made him disdainful of talking about favors with people like Xiao Qin. In the Kunlun realm, no matter who it was, the cyclic astral lord did not care about favors. This person before the cyclic astral lord was extremely terrifying. If the cyclic astral lord allowed the cyclic astral lord to charge out of this abandoned land, he would definitely make a move on Xiao Qin. This was equivalent to using the benefits before him to create a strong opponent for himself in the future. Xiao Qin repeatedly weighed the pros and cons in his mind. After a moment of silence, he said, "Deal." The cyclic astral lord smiled faintly and said, "Even if you can see through my heart, you cannot reject my conditions. No matter how great your accomplishments are in the future, you are destined to benefit me." After saying that, the cyclic astral lord tossed the oath stone to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin held the oath stone in his hand and gave the other party a deep look. This was a gamble. However, at this point, Xiao Qin had to gamble. He was different from the cyclic astral lord. Be it the Haotian sect or the Northern Sea Alliance, they were existences that he could not part with. Even if it was clearly disadvantageous to him, he had to agree to the other party's conditions. "I, Xiao Qin, swear that I will bring the cyclic astral lord away from this abandoned land within 100 years. Otherwise, my heart will shatter and I will die." After Xiao Qin swore the oath, the mysterious stone in his hand melted in his palm and flowed into his body, vanishing. When the cyclic astral lord saw Xiao Qin finish his oath, he revealed a satisfied expression. He said, "Stay here for 3 days. Take as much of the solar true flame and the lunar true flame as you can." Xiao Qin asked sullenly, "Let me ask you something. Do you know where the Thunder King is?" "Why the need to ask? Since you already swore, you will walk the path of the Thunder King sooner or later. Just refine the flame here in peace and think about how to deal with the Lunar Palace. I can only help you deal with the Northern Sea Alliance's problem." After leaving that sentence, the cyclic astral lord left. Seeing the other party leave, Little Three immediately leaped out of the immortal spirit ring. Ao Jiao quickly followed behind, staring at the solar true flame in a daze. Xiao Qin knew what Ao Jiao was thinking. He asked, "Ao Jiao, can the flame here revive Little Yellow Feather quickly?" Ao Jiao shook her head and replied, "I'm not sure. The solar divine flame is of a higher grade than the solar true flame. However, the solar true flame here has already reached its peak. Furthermore, it has been here for tens of thousands of years. It is hard to say. In that case, there is no need to worry about it. I'll give it a try for now. Since this cyclic astral lord agreed to give me 3 days, I have to make good use of it." After Xiao Qin spoke, he placed the golden crow egg into the solar true flame. After that, a light flashed in each of Xiao Qin's eyes, and they started spinning quickly. A suction force spread out, and the solar true flame and lunar true flame in the vast flame pool turned into motes of light, continuously entering Xiao Qin's eyes. Xiao Qin sat cross-legged, absorbing and refining as he did so. At the same time, he thought hard about what the cyclic astral lord said. The Northern Sea Alliance had internal strife. Without needing to guess, Xiao Qin was sure that the deity Dao Union was causing trouble. Since the cyclic astral lord agreed to deal with it, there was no need to think about it for now. Right now, Xiao Qin should be thinking about how to deal with the Lunar Palace's problem. He had not expected the Lunar Palace to have such strong influence. The deity Dao Union had been harassing Xiao Qin, preventing him from interacting with the other Holy Lands. They had placed all their trump cards on him. The other party probably thought the same. As long as they placed all their resources on the lunar palace and successfully persuaded them, they could turn the situation around in one go. However, how should the lunar palace break out of this situation? The lunar palace had already said that Bright Moon City did not welcome Xiao Chen, the descendant of the Qing Emperor. Chapter 1340. How to deal with the lunar palace's situation. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Chen still could not figure it out. In the lunar palace, the only person he could interact with was the holy daughter, Yu Bingyun. She held a high position, the next mistress of the lunar palace. The crucial point was this next mistress. No matter what her future was like, she could not influence the lunar palace's thoughts right now. Whoosh! Just at this moment, a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram suddenly appeared behind Xiao Chen. The solar true flame and the lunar true flame chased each other, forming a beautiful diagram. Xiao Chen felt excited. How fast! It has only been half a day, and my solar true flame and lunar true flame both rose to rank 6 at the same time. Xiao Chen stopped swallowing, and the flame whirlpools in his eyes stopped spinning. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand. A golden light flickered, and 2 Taiji yin-yang flame diagrams appeared at the same time, one in front and one behind. Buzz! The surrounding 100 meters suddenly froze. Everything, from the insignificant specks of dust, froze. Amid the haziness, Xiao Chen scratched the surface of the state of space. When 2 new Taiji yin-yang flame diagrams appeared at the same time, they could actually freeze the space within 100 meters. Xiao Chen revealed an expression of joy. He temporarily forgot about the lunar palace's troubles and tried to widen the distance between the 2 Taiji yin-yang flame diagrams. With a bang, the space shattered, and wisps of flames flew in all directions. Xiao Chen frowned and said, "It looks like I was too hasty. If I want to increase the range, I have to continue raising the quality of the flames." As Xiao Chen looked at the vast flame pool before him, envy flashed in his eyes. This was the power of accumulations. If Xiao Chen could completely possess it and use this flame to spread out the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, its might would be unimaginable. However, this was just a thought. There is no need to feel pity. There are still 2.5 days. It should not be a problem to raise the flames to rank 7. After calming down, Xiao Chen continued to absorb the essence of these flames. 2 days later, where Tian Yushi was, Xiao Hoju, Yi Ling, and the others all showed sullen expressions. Among them, Xia Hojue was the most outstanding. Just as he was about to succeed in overthrowing the Yi clan, he suddenly stopped. The cyclic astral lord suddenly appeared and forcefully interfered in the internal power struggle of the Northern Sea Alliance, helping the Yi clan stabilize its position as the alliance chief. Furthermore, after learning that Zodiac Hall sided with the Dragon's Gate, the many voices in the Northern Sea Alliance that supported the deity Dao Union immediately fell silent. With the support of the Astral Palace and the Northern Sea Alliance, the deity Dao Union's reputation in the heavenly starry ocean plummeted. Right now, practically no one in the heavenly starry ocean was talking about the deity Dao Union. All they talked about was news about the Dragon's Gate. Damn it! This cyclic astral lord is too overbearing. As a prime, he actually supports Xiao Chen so openly declaring war on our deity Dao Union. Xiahou Ju said, feeling aggrieved. Even now, he still remembered the appearance of the cyclic astral lord's clone and the group's stupefied expressions. Yiling's eyes flickered. Then, he glanced at Tian Yushi and said, "Indeed, the cyclic astral lord went overboard. If the deity Dao Union did not suppress them, they would lose all their momentum, giving off the impression that they were just putting on a brave front. It would be hard to avoid disheartening those who followed the deity Dao Union." Xiahou Ju said worriedly, "Xiao Chen has already convinced 2 primes. Adding in Ing Zongtian and the Fox King, the Dragon's Gate's side now has 4 primes. Why do I feel that the Dragon's Gate's momentum is already comparable to our deity Dao Union's?" On the surface, the deity Tao Union had three primes: Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Adding in the three holy masters, the deity Tao Union had four primes. The deity Tao Union originally held the absolute advantage. However, after Xiao Chen made a move, the situation actually evened out. 2 months ago, Feng Wuji was still filled with confidence. Now, his confidence wavered somewhat. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen's elegance terrified him. Tianyu Shi revealed a disdainful smile. Feng Wuji, don't underestimate our deity race. Who told you that our deity race has only one prime? Feng Wuji's eyelids twitched. Could it be that the deity race has two primes? There are some things that you don't need to know. Just think about it. The heaven-punishing corpse god, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, and the three holy masters of your human race are not fools. If they do not see the deity race's true trump card, how could they be willing to submit to the deity race? Tianyu Shi's indifferent words stunned both Xiahou Ju and Feng Wuji. Could it be that the deity race really has an unknown trump card? To think that the divine daughter is so confident. Right now, there is no need to care about the Dragon's Gate's momentum. As long as we can convince the Lunar Palace, all of Xiao Chen's efforts will be in vain. Xiahou Ju interjected. What if they are not convinced? Tianyu Shi said sullenly, absolutely not. The Lunar Palace has a blood feud with the Qing Emperor. Back then, the Qing Emperor killed the Lunar Palace's palace master and many elders in a fit of rage. No matter how many years pass, no one will forget this. Yi Ling, who had been silent all this while, said, actually, there is no need to overthink this. Even if the Lunar Palace does not agree, as long as we destroy the Haotian sect, the Dragon's Gate's momentum will scatter. The Holy Lord Primes that follow him will naturally make another choice. His alliance is too scattered. Tianyu Shi nodded and said, that's right. However, if that happens, the Kunlun realm will fall into chaos. Once a huge battle broke out, it would affect everything else. The entire Kunlun realm would descend into chaos. If the Haotian sect could be destroyed that easily, the deity Tao Union would not have waited until now to make a move. Holy Lady, Xing Ju and Xuan are here. The doors to the secret room opened, and the deity race sovereign martial emperor, Qin Xiu, barged in with 2 people. Tian Yoshi showed joy on her face. Xing Ju and Xuan. One was the heaven-punishing corpse god's personal disciple, and the other was the East Mountain Ghost Monarch's personal disciple. After returning from the celestial battlefield, their strength had increased greatly, and they had even killed the first Heaven Emperor Wu. The 2 of them had been in seclusion for a long time. Finally, the 2 of them had returned. With Xing Ju and Xuan around, the chances of persuading the other party in the Lunar Palace would be much greater. If the 2 of them could suppress Xiao Chen in the Lunar Palace, they would be able to do so. In the heavenly starry ocean, the momentum of the deity Tao Union would instantly catch up to that of the Dragon's Gate. After not seeing each other for some time, the 2's strength had increased significantly. Their auras were even denser. When Xiahou Ju and Feng Wuji saw this, they were startled at the same time. They actually felt some fear from the 2. They could no longer understand Xing Ju and Xuan's strength. Strange, why is Di Wuk not out of closed-door cultivation yet? Is he not going to appear on the trip to the Lunar Palace? Xuan said, after exchanging glances with Xing Ju. Perhaps he really will not appear. I cannot guarantee that. Xing Ju waved his hand and said, it's fine. Alone, the 2 of us might not be able to deal with Xiao Chen. However, if the 2 of us work together, we are confident of blocking Xiao Chen. When are you preparing to depart? Half a month from now, the Lunar Palace will hold a ceremony to view the divine weapon. At that time, all the major factions will go and watch. We will choose that time to appear. Xiao Chen, who was still absorbing the solar true flame and the lunar true flame, did not know that his 2 old rivals had already arrived in the heavenly starry ocean. He also did not know what the Lunar Palace's ceremony to view the divine weapon had to do with him. At this moment, Xiao Chen was looking at the flame pool in disappointment, not knowing how to console Ao Jiao. 3 days were about to pass, but the golden crow egg in the solar true flame still showed no signs of activity. The flame was too dense. Xiao Chen could not make out the exact situation with his spiritual sense. However, if the golden crow egg had a reaction, there would definitely be some fluctuations. However, from start to end, the surface of the lava formed by the solar true flame did not show any strange movement. Blue Dragon King, 3 days have already passed. Are you still not leaving? Suddenly, the urging of a cyclic astral palace elder came from outside. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and had no choice but to take out the golden crow egg. Whoosh! However, the instant the golden crow egg charged out, the expressions of Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao changed at the same time in shock. How did this golden crow egg turn golden? Chapter 1341. Although the golden crow egg had the word gold, Xiao Chen remembered it very clearly. It had always been the color of white jade, its surface smooth, and its spiritual energy withdrawn. Now, however, it had turned golden, a fiery gold. It was like a burning rock. When placed in Xiao Chen's hand, it felt like a clump of fierce fire. He could even feel the heat coming from it. Ao Jiao, what's going on? Xiao Chen asked, feeling suspicious. Ao Jiao rubbed her nose and shook her head. I'm not sure. I've never seen or heard of such a situation before. Little 3 knows about this. This golden crow mutated. A holy beast's bloodline is pure. Normally, it is very hard for it to mutate. However, once it mutates, there will be an unexpected change. Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao looked at Little 3 in surprise. Unexpectedly, this girl knew so much. Little 3 smiled bashfully and said, "Don't look at me like that. During the Immortal epoch, golden crows were very common. There should still be many of them now. However, they are rather rare in this abandoned land." Xiao Chen did not care about this. He continued asking, "Is it a good change or a bad change?" Naturally, it is good. It is very hard for holy beasts to mutate. During our era, if the golden crow mutated, it would have become the absolute king of the golden crow race. Little 3's tone was very certain, allowing Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao to release their bated breaths. Why did it mutate? Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to the lunar true flame, which was right next to the solar true flame. Perhaps it had something to do with this vast lunar true flame. This flame pool had received 2 kinds of flames for a long time. Its yin and yang attributes were no longer as pure. However, Xiao Chen could not figure out what was going on. The people outside were rushing him, so he could not stay any longer. "Come, let's go out. Come, let's go out." Little 3 and Ao Jiao quickly flashed, returning to the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen returned the way he came. The moment he appeared in the Sun Palace, he saw the cyclic astral lord, who had been waiting for a long time. The cyclic astral lord still looked very spirited and full of boundless charm. However, after seeing through this person's heart, he no longer gave Xiao Chen the feeling of being subdued. "Your complexion is not bad. Looks like you've gained quite a lot. Here you go." The cycle banner slowly appeared in the cyclic astral lord's palm. Then, he tossed the banner back to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen took it. The flagpole had turned golden and was engraved with densely packed stars, sun and moon. If it was spread out, it would look like a resplendent starry sky. The color of the flag was even more blood-red than before. The red flag was like blood, and it looked like it was about to overflow. It was filled with killing intent. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, the cyclic astral lord had indeed kept his promise, helping him merge the 6th pane thrown into it. "This war banner of yours is truly extraordinary. You've wasted so many divine materials for nothing. What a pity. I used the refining methods of the cyclic astral palace to refine it for you. I did not add any divine materials, but it directly raised its quality by one level. The cyclic astral lord spoke casually, as if he was talking about something insignificant. As Shao Chun held the cycle banner, he felt startled in his heart. No matter how hypocritical or ambitious this person was, he would not be able to defeat him. No matter how hypocritical or ambitious this person was, he was indeed very talented, worthy of admiration. In the future, when he left this abandoned land, he would definitely be a major character. I already helped you settle the matter of the Northern Sea Alliance. I can't help you with the Lunar Palace's side, so you can do as you see fit. I know you are not willing to go to the Lunar Palace. However, you already swore an oath. It is no longer up to you. Whether you are willing or not, you have to take down the Lunar Palace. Right now, the two were on the same boat. Although they each had their own thoughts, they had the same goal for now. The cyclic astral lord was even more unwilling than Shao Chun to see the Lunar Palace side with the deity Dao Union. Shao Chun ignored the cyclic astral lord's words, which sounded like an order. He said calmly, "Many thanks. You do not have to worry about the Lunar Palace's matters. I will do my best. There is no need to put pressure on me." It is not that I want to put pressure on you. The Lunar Palace's new transcendent divine weapon has already been refined. Half a month later, they will hold the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. At that time, Tianyu Shi will personally pay a visit. Half a month is the last time you have. Do as you see fit. After the cyclic astral lord said this, he started to send off the guest, showing no intention of exchanging pleasantries. Shao Chun could not be bothered to linger. He felt very uncomfortable when he was with this person. He did not like such a situation at all. After leaving the Zodiac Hall, Shao Chun landed on the surface of the sea. For a moment, he did not know where to go. Go to the Lunar Palace? There was no need to think about it. If he went rashly, he would definitely be chased back in disgrace. Bright Moon City would not welcome him at all. Go to the Northern Sea Alliance. They no longer needed him there. With the cyclic astral lord making a move, he would naturally resolve the problem there. Shao Chun, where are we going now? Let's go back. After all, there are some things that cannot be forced. For problems that I cannot figure out, there is no solution no matter how I think about it. I'll just let nature take its course. Helpless against the Lunar Palace, Shao Chun shook his head. Then, he decided to return to Heavenly Star Island and calm down. In the past few days, Shao Chun had been rushing all over the place, not stopping for even a moment. He had fought several huge battles that left him shaken to the core, nearly triggering the great tribulation of wind and fire in advance. After making up his mind, Shao Chun returned to Heavenly Star Island 3 days later. However, he had not returned for 2 months. When he returned, he discovered that Heaven Dragon City was already several times more bustling than before. Shao Chun could vaguely feel a great aura in the sky above Heavenly Star Island, gathering wind and clouds in all directions, attracting everyone's attention. As for the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, it looked lifeless. Under the suppression of the Dragon's Gate, it had fallen to a second-rate faction, its luck plummeting. The news of Shao Chun's return to Heavenly Star Island startled only a few people. Immortal immediately rushed over to the mountain where Shao Chun was in closed-door cultivation. Right now, Immortal was already the female city lord in name. The city lord token of Heaven Dragon City was in her hands. She was the one who dealt with the various factions, the planning of the Dragon's Gate, and the various branches of the Dragon's Gate. Shao Chun was only in name. He spent most of his time cultivating. Big brother Shao Chun, this is for you. After Immortal arrived, she tossed a jade strip to Shao Chun. Shao Chun received it and took a look. Then, he asked, "What is this?" Immortal smiled and explained, "This is a gathering token. When you do things, you always have a backup plan. You managed to convince those primes and the Holy Lord, but you did not leave behind any means to inform them. Let me ask you, if the Haotian sect is in danger now, How are you going to inform them? Of course, I will send someone to inform them through the transportation formation. The moment Xiao Chen said that, he realized the problem. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "That's too slow. I really did not think of that." Imochen smiled and said, "That's why I prepared the gathering token for you. The moment you left, I got someone to deliver this gathering token to the great holy lord. Once something unexpected happens, just shatter this jade strip, and the other holy lord will receive the news." Xiao Chen put away the jade strips solemnly and said, "Thank you." It's fine. This is all I can do to help you. I can't do anything else." When Imochen heard Xiao Chen's thanks, she revealed a satisfied expression. She continued, "Oh right, are you still preparing to go out?" Xiao Chen sighed and said, "I do want to go out. However, never mind. I have no idea what to do with the Lunar Palace. Their palace master personally said that they will not welcome me, blocking my way. I can't even enter Bright Moon City." At the mention of this, Xiao Chen showed a helpless expression. If the Lunar Palace steeled itself to reject a person, no one could force their way in. Even if this person was a sovereign martial emperor, it would not work. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not one yet. "You want to participate in the Lunar Palace's divine weapon unveiling ceremony, right?" Imochen asked softly as a light flashed in her bright eyes. Xiao Chen nodded. At the same time, he repeated the cyclic astral lord's words. Once the Lunar Palace sided with the deity Dao Union, all of Xiao Chen's previous efforts would go to waste. "I can't help you convince the Lunar Palace. However, getting you to enter Bright Moon City is not a problem." After Imochen heard what Xiao Chen said, she smiled faintly. Then, like she was performing a magic trick, a jade fan made of moonlight appeared in her hand. Then, she slowly opened the fan. The melodious sound of the zither and the elegant voice of a song floated out from the fan. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He said, "This is the Lunar Palace's bright jade fan. As long as one has this fan, they can even meet the Lunar Palace's palace master. Where did you get it?" This was truly a turning point, a glimmer of hope. Xiao Chen, who was about to give up, suddenly saw a path before him. Imochen smiled mischievously. "Guess." Chapter 1342. Xiao Chen thought for a while. Then, he revealed a smile. "I guess it has something to do with that transcendent divine weapon." For Imochen to establish a connection with the Lunar Palace, and even get the Lunar Palace to give her a bright jade fan, someone from the Lunar Palace must have asked her to help refine the transcendent divine weapon. Mo Chun had the Book of Heavenly Works. Her refining skills were already extraordinary. Aside from this, Xiao Chen could not think of any other reason. Imochen smiled faintly and said, "You are not stupid. I did not refine that transcendent divine weapon. I only assisted from the side, using the Book of Heavenly Works to help control the temperature of the flame and let the swordsmith focus on forging." Xiao Chen understood that while Imochen spoke humbly, she had definitely helped a lot. Otherwise, she would not have given him a bright jade fan. With the bright jade fan, he could get the Lunar Palace to help him with something, which would be like owing her a favor. Of course, this referred to an ordinary matter. Getting the Lunar Palace to side with the Dragon's Gate was impossible with just the bright jade fan. Back then, the Holy Daughter Yu Bingyun personally came to look for me. At first, I hesitated and did not agree. However, she seemed to have anticipated today's situation and repeatedly begged me to help, to obtain this bright jade fan and hand it to you. Imochen spoke tirelessly, telling the truth. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. Did Yu Bingyun really manage to reach this step? Probably not. Xiao Chen did not believe that anyone could be that incredible. She just wanted to give me a chance to go to the Lunar Palace. Regardless of whether that was the case or not, this jade fan was indeed of great help to me now. Xiao Chen put away the jade fan and paced around the room, thinking about how to face the Lunar Palace's people. He was somewhat confident of dealing with the other Holy Lands. However, this was the only holy land that he was in danger. Big Brother Xiao Chen, actually, there is no need to be anxious. When Imochen saw the worry on Xiao Chen's face, she consoled him. Actually, the one who should be anxious is not you but the deity Dao Union's group. Big Brother Xiao Chen, you already convinced the various holy lands. However, they only managed to convince the divine dragon palaces of the four seas. Right now, you hold the complete advantage in the heavenly starry ocean. Why put so much pressure on yourself? Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. When he heard Imochen's words, he immediately felt enlightened, feeling refreshed. When Imochen saw Xiao Chen's frown relax, she continued, "Sometimes, when you look at a problem from a different angle, you will discover that the situation can change immediately. Right now, you should not think of yourself as the weak party. Right now, your momentum is flourishing in the heavenly starry ocean, and your reputation is great. The weak party is the deity Dao Union. If they cannot convince the lunar palace, they will lose everything in the heavenly starry ocean. It will be even more difficult for them to destroy the Haotian sect, and they will have to pay an even greater price. You have already disrupted their plans." Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, "That's right. Imochen, continue." After receiving encouragement, she continued analyzing. "As long as the lunar palace remains neutral, Big Brother Xiao Chen, you have already succeeded. As for the deity Dao Union, they need to take down the lunar palace. Otherwise, all their plans in the heavenly starry ocean will fail." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "That's right. Why must the lunar palace side with the Dragon's Gate? They just need to remain neutral." With Imochen's explanation, Xiao Chen's train of thought immediately cleared. The most important thing was that his mental state completely changed. "Many thanks. If not for what you said, even if I could enter Bright Moon City, it would not be of much use. Instead, it might even have the opposite effect," Xiao Chen said sincerely after calming down. It was just like how the deity Dao Union sent someone to assassinate Xiao Chen, which ended up helping him. If Xiao Chen went to the lunar palace and did not control his mental state, he might end up helping the deity Dao Union. With this thought, Xiao Chen felt a chill run down his spine. He had nearly made a huge mistake. "Oh right, I still have not asked you. What exactly is that transcendent divine weapon?" Xiao Chen asked out of curiosity. The lunar palace wanted to forge a new transcendent divine weapon. Xiao Chen knew about this. Back then, Yu Bingyun had told him about it. The startling phoenix zither was ranked 10th on the divine weapon ranking. It was too dangerous and could be pushed down at any moment. The lunar palace needed to forge a new transcendent divine weapon. It is a set of sabers and swords, one saber and one sword. Although they are two divine weapons, the two can merge into one. Furthermore, they come from the same source, so they can be considered one transcendent divine weapon. Xiao Chen understood this. A set of weapons could be seen as one. The 7 deadly sins in his hand were the same. Imochen continued, "One is the wind shadow sword, and the other is the cloud moon saber. The two are extremely horrifying. The shadow of the wind and the moon of the clouds. Wind and clouds merge, and the shadow of the moon is missing. This transcendent divine weapon involves 5 states. Furthermore, it needs to be combined with the 2 profound martial techniques of the lunar palace. Its might is extremely horrifying. Now, it ranks first on the divine weapon ranking." Xiao Chen asked casually, "What if it cannot be combined?" Imochen said, "Since it is a set and cannot be combined, its might will naturally be greatly reduced. It might even be weaker than an ordinary divine weapon." However, 3 days later, a piece of unexpected news spread throughout the entire heavenly starry ocean like a strong gust of wind, despite Xiao Chen's casual question. The lunar palace sent out news that anyone who could draw the cloud moon saber during the divine weapon unveiling ceremony would be able to enter the lunar palace and marry the holy daughter. The moment this news spread, all the men in the heavenly starry ocean went crazy. In the lunar palace, most female disciples could marry, but the holy daughter could not. After becoming the lunar palace's holy daughter, while enjoying the attention of the world and being aloof, she still had to abandon her emotions and endure indescribable loneliness. After becoming the lunar palace's holy daughter, while enjoying the attention of the world and being aloof, she still had to abandon her emotions and endure indescribable loneliness. As for the holy daughter, that was something that could only be thought of in their hearts. Unexpectedly, as long as one drew a saber, one could marry the holy daughter. As for the holy daughter, that was something that could only be thought of in their hearts. Unexpectedly, as long as one drew a saber, one could marry the holy daughter. This news was like a bomb going off in the deep sea, spreading very quickly. It instantly overshadowed the matter of Xiao Chen convincing the various holy lands. When Xiao Chen first arrived in the heavenly starry ocean, he had seen the holy daughter's prestige in the heavenly starry ocean. Not only did she enjoy a good reputation in the world of cultivators, she enjoyed an even more venerated position among ordinary people. Among ordinary mortals, her status was even more revered. She was like a fairy in the mortal world. He didn't even dare to think about marrying such a woman as his wife. When Xiao Chen and Emo Chen heard this news, they were both stunned. Indeed, no one would have thought of such an unexpected thing beforehand. Emo Chen looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Tell me, did you know about this long ago? Otherwise, why did you ask me what would happen if the two could not be combined?" Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, "It was really just a casual question. If not for you, I would not even know what a transcendent divine weapon is." Emo Chen smiled and said, "I was just saying it casually. There is no need to be so nervous. It looks like there is no one in the lunar palace who can make the cloud moon saber recognize a master." A divine weapon recognizing a master was a very strange thing. Some divine weapons could easily recognize a master as long as one was strong enough. However, some divine weapons, such as the 7 deadly sins in Xiao Chen's hand, required the cultivator to be compatible with the divine weapon. Otherwise, the divine weapon would never recognize a master, no matter how strong it was. Is there a need to sacrifice a holy daughter for a divine weapon? Xiao Chen could not understand this. As he looked at the bright jade fan in his hand, he vaguely thought of something. Emo Chen said, "You don't understand. Right now, this saber and sword are at the top of the divine weapon ranking. The lunar palace poured 10,000 years of accumulations into this. They are specially forged to deal with a great calamity. It is impossible for them to give up, so they can only resort to this method. Furthermore, my guess is that the lunar palace definitely has countermeasures to control the person who can make the divine weapon recognize a master." However, Xiao Chen did not hear what Emo Chen said. He stared at the bright jade fan in a daze. Did Yu Bingyun expect this to happen? Yu Bingyun guessed long ago that no one in the lunar palace could make the cloud moon saber recognize a master. Even after Yu Bingyun tried to dissuade them, the lunar palace still insisted on forging this set of divine weapons. Hence, the lunar palace gave Emo Chen the bright jade fan to hand to him. Could this be his opportunity for the divine weapon unveiling ceremony? After the twists and turns, what Xiao Chen saw was not the light at the end of the tunnel that he wanted. Instead, there were new waves and new problems. Chapter 1343. As Xiao Chen looked at the bright jade fan, his emotions fluctuated. For a moment, he forgot that Emo Chen was talking to him. "Big brother Xiao Chen. Big brother Xiao Chen." Only after Emo Chen called out twice did Xiao Chen react. He said, Sorry. I was thinking about something else." Emo Chen smiled faintly and said, "Actually, I already guessed it. Why would Yu Bingyun come to Heavenly Star Island to beg me for no reason? She must have some sort of relationship with Big Brother Xiao Chen." Xiao Chen sighed softly and said calmly, "It can't be considered a relationship. I just experienced some life and death situations with her, and went on adventures together. Suddenly, when I heard that she was going to marry, my emotions fluctuated somewhat. What's wrong? Does Big Brother Xiaochen like her? Imochen asked seriously as she blinked and looked at Xiaochen. This question stumped Xiaochen. Did he like Yu Bingyun? The answer was obvious. As the holy daughter, Yu Bingyun was pretty and refined. Her character was elegant and magnanimous. No man would not have a good impression of such a girl. Naturally, Xiaochen was no exception. However, he did not know how much of a good impression Yu Bingyun had. Furthermore, right now, he was like duckweed, about to sink at any moment. He did not dare to talk about love. Xiaochen was certain that there was only one lover in his heart, Qingyun Peak's Lu Riu. No matter how many years had passed and how much they had experienced, Xiaochen buried this feeling in his heart and would never forget it. As for the others, Xiaochen did not think too much about them. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen replied, regardless of whether she likes you or not, since she asked you to give the bright jade fan to me, then she definitely does not like to marry. It would have been fine if I did not know. Now that I know, I have to help her this time. Humph. Right after Xiaochen spoke, Ao Jiao snorted heavily from the immortal spirit ring, appearing extremely dissatisfied. Since he wanted to help, then Xiaochen would definitely draw his saber. As the lunar shadow saber's item spirit, Ao Jiao immediately felt jealous. When Little Three heard that, she laughed endlessly at the side, scolding Ao Jiao. Ao Jiao was angry and ignored her. Xiaochen could not explain it to her for now, so he could only let her be. He said to Imochen, make some preparations. When the time comes, you will come with me to Bright Moon City. I'll go with you? Xiaochen nodded. Yes. This lunar palace is very important to me as well. Stay by my side and remind me when necessary so that I won't do anything stupid. When Imochen heard this, she smiled and said, sure. I also want to see how crazy the scene will be. When the group in the pavilion where Tianyu she was learned that Yu Bingyun was going to marry the person who drew the cloud moon saber, they were greatly startled. They didn't expect such a thing to happen before they left. The thinking of the lunar palace is really unfathomable. If the person who drew the saber was old and ugly, then wouldn't the holy daughter Yu Bingyun be in trouble? Xingju shook his head, indicating that he did not understand. Xie Xuan smiled gently and said, isn't that simple? Just go and draw that cloud moon saber, and everything will be fine. Ha 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 ha. I will definitely give it a try. Marrying the holy daughter is indeed very tempting, Xingju replied indifferently. Tianyu she frowned slightly and said, this commotion is very sudden. I really don't know if it is good or bad for us. Xiao Hoju analyzed. No matter who draws the cloud moon saber, as long as it is not Xiaochen, it is a good thing for us. Feng Wuji added, don't worry. Xiaochen cannot even enter Bright Moon City. How can he draw the saber? The best situation is that one of us can draw the cloud moon saber. In that case, the lunar palace will definitely side with the deity Dao Union. Xiaochen will have no chance at all. Tianyu she looked around and glanced at the people present. He felt that this was very possible. Be it Xiao Hoju or Feng Wuji, they were both outstanding talents who returned from experiential training in the astral battlefield. They were stronger than the many outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean. As for Xingju and Xie Xuan, there was no need to even mention them. They were descendants of primes. Now, their strength was unfathomable. They could even kill a regular Emperor Wu. They were much stronger than the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean. If Xiaochen did not make a move, no one would be able to suppress them. Very well, it is decided, then. I will send people to figure it out as soon as possible. As for the cloud moon saber, the few of you should make preparations. I will definitely reward whoever can draw the cloud moon saber, Tianyu she said seriously. Xingju and the others exchanged glances and did not object. A look flashed in their eyes, mostly of eagerness. Who would not be tempted by a woman like the holy daughter? As Xiao Chen, Tianyu Shi, and the others made their preparations, all the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean went crazy. The news spread very quickly. The many cultivators of the Black Sea, the Storm Sea, and the Ice Sea also received the news in the shortest time possible. Immediately, the news of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter getting married spread throughout the entire oceanic world, becoming the hottest topic. The number of people heading to Bright Moon City was several times more than usual. There was a huge crowd, all wanting to test their skills at the divine weapon unveiling ceremony. In the sky, at the palace hovering in the sky like a bright moon, Yu Bingyun had a melancholic expression on her face, as she stared out the window in a daze. As the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun had never hoped to have a true relationship. For many years, her heart had never changed, never having any ripples. She had only met that person, and her heart slowly changed. There had never been a person who gave her such an intense feeling, stirring her heart and making her worry. However, Yu Bingyun still retained her rationality. Similarly, she did not have any extravagant hopes for any result. She placed that feeling in the depths of her heart. She did not think about it. However, she simply could not accept the current situation. Even if she could not marry for the rest of her life, it would be countless times better than marrying someone she did not like. Would he dare to come? Would he guess why I gave him the bright jade fan? Yu Bingyun's heart was in a mess. No matter what she did, she could not calm down. Her thoughts were a mess, unable to sort them out. Bingyun, what are you thinking about? The Lunar Palace's palace master silently entered the elegant room. Startled, she quickly turned around and bowed. Master, Bingyun is fine. The Lunar Palace's palace master shook her head and said, Your worries are written all over your face. How can you be fine? Don't blame Master. Great chaos is approaching. The demonic great calamity will arrive soon. If the Lunar Palace wants to seek safety under the pressure of the deity Tao Union, it needs the existence of this saber and sword. There will be an even more horrifying demonic great calamity. We will need the Wind Shadow Sword and the Cloud Moon Saber even more. The Lunar Palace has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. We absolutely cannot let it fall here. Yu Bingyun said softly, I know. Bingyun will do whatever Master says. The Lunar Palace's palace master smiled warmly and said, There's no need to overthink. The person who can draw the Cloud Moon Saber is absolutely worthy of you. Given the pride of the Cloud Moon Saber, it will not choose an ugly person. If that person dares to bully you, Master will definitely not spare him. Yu Bingyun smiled bitterly in her heart. If the person was not the one she loved, no matter how outstanding he was, it was useless. However, Yu Bingyun did not show it on her face. She just nodded slightly to indicate that she understood. The Lunar Palace's palace master gave Yu Bingyun a deep look. Yu Bingyun was like a daughter to her. The Lunar Palace's palace master watched her grow up and poured all her heart and soul into her. However, this time, the Lunar Palace's palace master had no choice. To think that no one in the vast Lunar Palace could draw the Cloud Moon Saber. This situation was unexpected. For the sake of forging this saber and sword, the Lunar Palace had exhausted far more resources than the outside world expected. If this saber and sword became mere decorations, then the Lunar Palace would suffer severe injuries to its essence for many years, finding it hard to recover. The more important thing was still to come. The deity Tao Union already put a lot of pressure on the Lunar Palace. The Lunar Palace did not want to lean towards any faction. The Lunar Palace needed to have its own trump card so that the deity Tao Union would not dare to use force on the Lunar Palace. However, the matters of the world were hard to predict. The commotion caused by the divine weapon unveiling ceremony far surpassed her expectations.